Hey, good evening, good evening, good evening. I am so excited. I'm excited to be on, and the Wi-Fi is working and we are connecting tonight, and it's going to be awesome. Now, I am going to need you to share. I can see people are on already. Come on, man. Tell me hello and tell me where you're watching from. This is Marcia Weeks, and you are watching the Marcia Weeks Show. I am coming to you live from where? Trinidad. Trinidad. I am coming to you live from Trinidad. So I'm going to ask you to share. Let me know how my audio is. What's happening with my audio? Can you hear me? I don't have my microphone in Trinidad. Don't have my lights in Trinidad. So I'm using the house lights and I'm using the computer audio. So I'm going to ask you to tell me, how am I doing? Are you hearing me clearly? What is happening? Oh my goodness, so much excitement there in Barbados. So much excitement happening over there. Listen. This Saturday at 10 o'clock. At 10 o'clock. The march is on, folks. The march is on. Yes, good to see you. Listen, good to see you. Please like the YouTube channel or like the Facebook page, please. Everybody, that's going to send the algorithm, up. If you just like, can you like? We need people to come back on. A lot of people are not sure if I'm going to be on tonight, so I need you, Mark Clark and Wayne Hoyt and CG as foot soldiers. If you be my foot soldiers tonight, okay? And you get to sharing. Start sharing, please. Start sharing. You're not gonna miss anything. Caswell is getting ready to come on. So right now, I want you to share. Please share. Please share. Now, I'm gonna talk a little bit, y'all, about the march that is coming up on Saturday. Now, this march that is coming up on Saturday is going to be a little different. Kamar, good night. I'm on. Kamar, please share like mad for me. Share like crazy for me tonight, and so that everybody knows we're on. They're not going to win. Victory. Victory. And listen, there is the Jericho March. I call it the Jericho March. Why I'm calling the Jericho March is because when the children of Israel, they were marching around Jericho. Did they march one time? Did the walls fall down after marching one time? No, man. You can't come and you say, well, I'm just going to march one time and everything is going to be fine. No. No, no. They marched 7 times and then the walls came down. You see? So it is that being consistent in that march, being consistent in the sharing. You said, but I share all the time. Don't give up. Those walls have not come down as yet. Those walls have not come down as yet. And I tell you, I came in and had a little sleep and had a dream. And I know that they're watching this. I will not tell you what I dream, but my dream confirmed to me what is happening. They are so onto the show. They are watching it. They are watching it and they're doing whatever they can to stop the reach of it, but it's not going to work. It's not going to work. So if everybody could like, if you're watching on YouTube, like it, subscribe and like. If you're watching on Facebook, go ahead and the broadcast, okay? And that will help to send it up more in the algorithm, is what I'm told. So if everybody could do that, that will be great. That will be great. Right. This is not about politics, Mark Clark is saying. This is about our livelihoods. And that Mark Clark is really why I'm here in Trinidad, and I still open up my computer and said, as long as I have Wi-Fi, I'm going to come on. Hi, Wayne Austin. Wayne is just joining us. Wayne, please share like mad. Share to your friends and family. Share the link in your WhatsApp. Share, do a broadcast of the link. Just let everybody know that we're on this evening. Everybody and their mama and their grandmother and everybody know that we are on, right? So go ahead and share, 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 share. So the march is going to be at on Saturday. The Jericho March is on Saturday. It's until the walls come down, till the walls come down, right? We are on until the walls come down. So we ask you to come out and invite somebody. If can you imagine if everybody who's coming, you don't just share the poster when you see it. That's a given. Okay. You share the poster, but you also decide that I am going to invite at least 5 persons. If each of us decide that we're going to invite at least 5 persons, you know, we could have the numbers could, probably quadruple, right? If each of us say or triple that we're going to invite 5 persons, they are only going to respond to numbers. They're only going to respond to numbers. Already, I see that the Prime Minister, am I right in saying what I see? I'm seeing that the Prime Minister is saying that they could lower the age. So don't let them say that it's not doing anything. Don't you let them tell you that. You come out, and this particular march, I'm hearing from Caswell, is coming on soon. I'm here at this particular march that we're having will not just be about NIS, but we are marching about for transparency and accountability in government, transparency and accountability. Now, you saw that it was on this show that it was revealed to Barbadians that that it was revealed to Barbadians that the um the state, right? They had interchanged the state and the board. Okay, that was done on this show. All right, it was on this show that was revealed, and Mr. Franklin went to brass tacks the next day. All right. And you saw Mr. Leslie called in and they said it was a mistake. Happened right here on this show first. You see how dangerous this is for them? Very, very dangerous. They came on and they said, oh, it was a mistake. But would the public had ever known there was a mistake in the bill? What about all those senators who read through the bill and all those 30 MPs or 29 MPs that read through the bill? They never saw it. What do you all think about that? I know Caswell is coming on to speak on that. And I've been saying how incompetent this government is. I've been saying that for a while. And it's either that to my mind, it's either that they decided to change it and they got caught, or it was a mistake. And if it was a mistake, it's saying to us that they are a bunch of incompetent people. They are not fit to run this country. They are not fit to run this country, because if something as important as that could pass 29 MPs and senators, 22 senators, huh? Something as important as that, why it had to take the lawyers outside who sent it to me, because the lawyers are the ones who sent it to me, and Mr. Caswell Franklyn to highlight it on this show. What about the other journalists? What about the MPs? What about the senators? How come nobody saw it? What about the people at NIS? Why didn't they say something? All the officials at NIS. It's sounding a little odd to me. What do you all think? Let me hear your thoughts, guys. What are you all thinking about that? What do you all think about that? As you are deciding what you think about that, don't forget the march, okay? Don't forget the march, which is on Saturday, okay? The march is on Saturday, and we are saying to everybody, listen, if we could all bring at least 5 persons to the march, at least 5. right? This is not about party. This is not about a party. Nobody. I know that I'm not a member of any political party. That's what they're going to say. I heard that someone, even the Senate is saying that this is a political motivated thing. Okay, just so you know that I'm not part of any political party, and there's no political party that is paying me to do anything or asking me to do anything. I'm not speaking to anybody. I come here and I open my computer and I get the work done because it is about our beloved country. Okay, so when you come on out on Saturday, come because of country. Come because of your fellow Barbadians, right? Yeah. This is a flyer. When you see the flyer, I'm going to ask you to share. Okay? Share. Yeah? Kamar is saying they're not only incompetent, they're all impotent, 30 plus. Well, impotent in the sense that they can't produce anything. They can't produce anything. I have how many? Okay, be honest. Even those of you who are here, I know you're watching on behalf of them. Think about, has there been any bill or policy that they have passed or that they have implemented that went through quick directly without being drawn back? Be honest. Tell me which one. Tell me which one. And in this case, it's even worse. It was passed. It was passed in the Senate and it was passed in the in Parliament with errors in it that could affect us, serious errors. Because in saying that the state is now in charge of the fund, basically, that's a major thing. That's a major way. CJ is saying that it was no mistake. They thought that they'd get away with it. Interesting. I don't know, but could be either. CJ is saying he doesn't think it's a mistake, that they thought that they could have gotten away with it. That would be some serious deception. Either way, it is terrible for this country. And the big question is, I heard that was asked on Brass Tacks, is that are they going to take this back to Parliament and then take it back to the Senate because there's an error in it? Is this what is going to happen? Yeah. Well, you could elbow cough all you want, Easy D. you can take that back to the others and let them know I'm not part of any political party. I've never was. I've criticized both parties. So that's the fact. But as I said, you can go back and let everybody know that. Will that make a difference? No, because the narrative that this government wants to promote is that those that are opposed to the pension bill, that it's coming from the DLP. Okay, that is a narrative that the government would want to put there because that works out better for them. And instead of believing that it's coming from the people, yeah. So you could elbow cough all you want. The truth is the truth. Yeah, nothing is going to change, right? Yeah. So Peter Early saying, isn't it amazing that Mia Martin uses marches, walked out of Parliament, and held numerous press conferences to gain political power, and now she frowns on such actions? Yeah, I remember all of those, and yeah, I remember all of those. So I think we just need to continue. We need to continue. We need to push. We need to keep pushing. Keep pushing. I saw where she's saying that I have to double check with Caswell when he comes on that it could the retirement age could be changed, could go back up. Huh? So you're telling me this show and these marches and the cry of the people, that it doesn't make a difference? No, she worries about it. It matters. It matters to them. Yeah, and that's why when you come on Saturday, when you come to the march on Saturday, make sure that you've invited, be a good Barbadian. Be a good Barbadian and invite at least 5 others. Invite a grandmother, a mother, aunties, uncles, young people, because it has to do with young people, right? And invite them to come out, right? And Nigel is saying, good night, comrades. Barbados does not belong to any political party or yard fouls. We, the people, have the right and the power to criticize the government and demand truth and justice. I love those words, to demand it. And why we're able to demand it is because we went out there in the hot sun, put on our hats and stand up in a long line, and we voted them in. So you never, don't let anybody try to dissuade you from going out there and tell you, oh, it's a bunch of troublemakers. Really, it's a bunch of people who are concerned about what is happening in this country. And the march has been extended to include transparency and accountability, right? People want to know about monies. There's money that people want. Thank God for Caswell Franklyn, who has been holding the government accountable. If Caswell did not bring it up about the state and the board, we would not hear that it was a mistake, that something happened in the bill. We would not know. And that is where the accountability comes in. And we are demanding not just truth and justice, but we are demanding transparency and accountability, which this government felt that it was necessary for us to have, because they campaigned on that and said that we would have that. Therefore, the contract that we have with this government is one of for transparency and accountability. And because of that, we need to demand that. Because if we're not getting that, it means that the contract is broken. It is a breach in contract. And that is what this is all about. We're not stupid. This is not about party. This is not about party. So do not accept that narrative. Do not accept the narrative. It does not belong to any political party. And I love the way he spelled the fouls, Fouls, because that's how they behave. Sometimes online they can be so nasty and foul in their comments. Yeah. Okay. So I say to you guys that demand the truth and justice. What justice for workers? There's so many workers that are being disenfranchised in this country. I'm hearing even those that are from the MTW who are doing the road works. How they're passed over. It's almost like those people, they make it out to be that they can't do anything, so they go ahead and they give out contracts. All of that road works, infra is getting this big contract to do all of those road works. These are friends of the government, friends of the government, the merchants, okay, of a certain hue. And those are the people they're giving them infra work. They're giving infra work, guys, that I'm understanding that the same MTW, the employees can do in their sleep. But remember now, when contracts are given, what happens? You've learned enough on this show to know, right? When contracts are given, what happens? We have kickbacks. Okay, we have kickbacks, and so they're able to that's what happens. So the politicians, they're going to want to bring in their friends to give contracts for work that has been done, that can be done by already be done by MTW. Already I'm getting messages about this, that can already be done by MTW, but instead they're bringing in infra, because once contracts are being given, kickbacks, right? They are raping this country, correct? Right? They're raping this country. Wayne is saying it appears that they were hoping that no one would recognize the amendments. But I recall Caswell saying that they will come and say it was an error, and he was correct. Correct, Wayne. He said it on the program. He said it on a program. Yeah. Caswell said it on the program. Caswell said it on the program, and it happened. And this is why when you hear them saying that Caswell is a troublemaker and you don't listen to Caswell and so on, can you imagine if Caswell did not bring it to the attention of the public? Would we know about it? We would not know about it. And this is why I say this march is important. This March, no to the NIS and pension bills. We're marching for transparency and accountability, justice for workers, right? In the hotel industry, those in the public sector. Yeah, this is a thing, Peter, that I want to ask Mr. Franklyn. He's settling himself to come on, but I want to know, how could it be a mistake? I wish Lynette would be on as well. What are the possibilities of something that's serious to be? It's a big mistake. No one in the AG's office or none of the ministers nor a senator identified the mistake. And these are the same ones that they're telling us that we must agree to give them pension at 50. When I have checked, the countries I've checked so far, St. Vincent and Trinidad, their MPs get pensions at 55. I have the document here from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and my friend Umar Abdullah, I see, is on. Hi, Umar. Umar Abdullah is on. He says, greetings from they have sent the information to me for Trinidad. And Trinidad is at 55. And it is these incompetent MPs who could not track, could not see it. It takes reading. Did they read these bills? Did they read these bills? Caswell has been saying that a lot of times the bills come the night before, days before. They don't give the people enough time. Look at this. This is if this is a mistake, this is a government of mistakes. And it says it's incompetence. Or if it was not a mistake, wow, is that what you were planning to do? I don't know what it is. Kamar say, Carl Barker said that they are being exposed, right? Kamar says that was no mistake. None. Did anyone hear that Eric Cackle Haynes made during the interview on Brass Tack? That he was shook. Listen, my goodness. Let me just welcome Mr. Franklyn. Hi, Caswell. How are you?
Hello again. Sorry to be late, but I was really tired, and I said, let me sit down and close my eyes for a couple of minutes till the show starts, and it was more than a couple of minutes.
Well, I am so glad that you closed your eyes for a couple of minutes. I had a little time to rest as well, because I want to be alert for tonight, because this is some serious things going on, and I'm so excited about the march, Mr. Franklyn, before you even jump into anything, because the chat is going like crazy, and I'm hoping they're sharing Carol Barker, and everybody, please share. To go in your WhatsApp and share, because people are thinking that we're not on. So you need to share as you come on, man. Let somebody else know that we're on. The same thing that you're going to do for the march. You're going to bring 5 persons with you for the march. Caswell, before you start, what are your thoughts about this march? I love the flyer.
Oh, well, as I tell people today, I told the people on the news that we're going to march until these things change, because we're not satisfied with them. I am not satisfied with them. I believe that the government made a mistake, and all they have to do is to acknowledge it. I'm going to show you a couple of other mistakes that they made too. One very serious. I'm going to talk about it tonight, because it's going to be it's a pattern of their behavior. They hide it. They deceive people when they make a mistake. Rather than own up or try to fix it and do the right thing and fix it, they cover. Now, if we didn't disclose this thing on your show the other night, Leslie Haynes wouldn't have come up because during all the discussions, everything, nobody saw Leslie Haynes. And he came on, and thankfully, he came on the brass. That's after I'd called. Somebody must have told him, look, Caswell says something, you got to go on there and respond. And he came on. And he then said, oh, it was a mistake. When he discovered it was a mistake, and if they knew it was a mistake, why didn't they say something about it? The obvious thing to do would have been say, look, we made a mistake because I may say that this is not something that you can hide. At least you have to go back to Parliament to fix it. Unless they're going to pass it in the dead of night again, 10 o'clock at night, as they did with some bills, when nobody didn't know. I believe that they were caught with their hands approaching the cookie jar. And so we were like, so we caught them out. We couldn't wait till they put their hand in the cookie jar any further. That's the problem, because they've gone into the cookie jar and taken too much of national insurance money. And we really couldn't allow them to do that, to catch them. We had to stop them before they get in there. Let me give you one example of things that they're doing. I'm going to save the bigger one for later. Right now, you are hearing that the Barbados Police Service, there is no such thing in Barbados. The Barbados Police Force, the Royal Barbados Police Force, that's what the act is. And in the Constitution Amendment Bill that established the new constitution that we have and made provision for a president, at section 29, it says police service means the Barbados Police Service established under the Barbados Police Act, under the Police Act, Cap 167. If you read Cap 167, it does not make any reference to a Barbados Police Service. It makes reference to the Royal Barbados Police Force. They have to amend the Police Act as well. But they've gone about for the last 3 years calling this thing the Barbados Police Service. There's no such thing in law yet. They have to go and the Constitution made provision that they will have one. But it tells you it is the Barbados Police Service established under the Police Act of Cap 167. The Police Act does not say speak to police service. That's just one. You see, they are shoddy. They don't care about the niceties. They don't. Anything goes with them. I'll give another example of things that they've done.
Before you go any further, this is what I noticed with them, because they so want to fit in with what is happening around the world, right? That they hastily go and they claim that they're doing these, there are these changes because they want to be first world, they want to be world class. Now, I don't know if you remember in the Black Lives Matter, when they were doing a lot of the protests, that the thinking was that we should not use the word police force. You should use police service, right? So the Black Lives Matter, a lot of that was being said in a lot of countries. So I'm thinking that once again, it's us trying to seem progressive and trying to be in with what is happening in the world, but not doing the due diligence to do it. They just quickly go and everybody's now saying police service, when by law, it is still considered the police force. And this is the kind of thing that this administration has been doing. And then you have people thinking that this is all political. Just look at it. They're not doing anything right. There's nothing they're doing right. They're incompetent.
They're incompetent and they're deceiving. They do these things and they expect that people would not look or wouldn't say anything because somehow they're supposed to be afraid of them or something. These people need to go, because if you have been elevated to high office and you have demonstrated over and over again that you are incompetent to hold such office, tell the people, sorry, we made a mistake. The Prime Minister already qualified for a pension because the Prime Minister only has to be Prime Minister for 1 day not even hold there, and she can get a pension at the Prime Minister under the Prime Minister's Pension Act, because they know there's a separate act for the Prime Minister, not like all the other MPs. The other MPs have an act for them. It's called the Legislative Service, the pensions, the pensions legislative service act, something to that effect. She's not covered there. She used to be covered under that act, but when you become Prime Minister, they pay a small amount of money as contributions toward that scheme. They will get back every cent. If you become Prime Minister, they give you back every cent that you paid in, and you get a pension, a non-contributory pension, and it is for serving as Prime Minister. If you appointed Prime Minister and you demit office anytime after you're appointed, then you are entitled to pension for life. And if you go, your wife and minor children will get a pension until the wife goes on until she marries somebody else. That's why Prime Minister's wives don't marry anybody else, because they get a pension for life, which is 2/3 of the Prime Minister's pension. You see, so they take care of each other. Mind you, they abolished widows and children's pensions for public officers back in 1980. And up to now, they haven't gotten around to abolishing widows and children for MPs. You see,
Can you repeat that? Repeat that slowly, Mr. Franklin, because this is school for us. Anybody remember? Get your writing instruments. Use your phone, but take these notes, because you're gonna be able to say, "I heard it here first," and make sure you're sharing. Yeah, and get these numbers up. Make sure you're sharing. Don't be selfish about this class tonight. To repeat that, Mr. Franklin.
No, I said, if you are a Prime Minister,
yes,
you are entitled to your pension anytime after you demit office. So if you go to the government house or state house as it is now, and you are sworn in as Prime Minister, and then you driving going down the road, heading to government headquarters, and you then turn back and say, "No, something, I don't want this job no more." You are entitled to a pension until you die.
Wow.
It is a simple. The qualifying period is having been appointed Prime Minister. Now, the MPs, they pay a small contribution toward their pension. And if you were an MP before and you were paying that contribution, like for instance, Mia Motley was in Parliament for 30 years.
Right.
And she would have been paying that contribution toward her pension. That contribution is refunded.
Okay.
And then she is entitled to a pension of 2/3 of her salary that she would have gotten for the rest of her life.
Wow. So she gets 2/3 of her salary for the rest of her life.
Yes.
Or whoever the Prime Minister is.
Whoever Prime Minister is. Now, if the Prime Minister were a man and he had a wife and children, and he dies, the wife then gets 2/3 of his pension, and the children get the other third until they reach 18, and if they're at university, until they reach 24 or 25. Mind you, there was a widows and children's pension for public officers. That was abolished in 1980 for public officers. But the same public officers that abolished this pension for public officers haven't gotten around to abolishing it for themselves. They continue. So if a Prime Minister has a minor child or a wife, they get pension, and the wife get pension until she remarries. That's what we say. You don't see Prime Minister wives getting remarried in Barbados, no, do you? Going all the way back to Barra. The matter of fact, his wife, I can't remember them ever being together. I never knew they were together. I was a little boy, and they were separated. But then she got her pension. Then he died, because I was told, when I questioned it, I was told, I don't get any people back, I don't know the business. Everybody knew about Barbados that they were separated for more than 5 years. And I haven't been separated for more than 5 years, and I'm entitled to that pension. But everybody's saying, well, I don't know their business. No, but they never announced to me that they were separated. But everybody in Barbados knew. but she got a pension, and well, she's gone now too. But I just show you they take care of each other and they take care of each other's wives, and they forget us. They are saying to the public officers, "Oh, you should go to the national insurance and get a survivor's benefit." Survivor's benefit is based on the maximum insurable earnings that a person would have earned. So if you are an MP, you work for way more than the maximum insurable earnings, but they don't tell them go and get the mass at national insurance. They say, okay, you can go and continue to get your pension, and the wife will get 2/3. And then you can also go to national insurance and get a survivor's pension too. So you see, so every case, they're double dipping. They get two pensions. They get a pension at 50, and then they get one at about 68 now. I know their wives and can get one if the person dies, the minister or the prime minister, if they die and leave a wife or children, then the wife can get a pension, which will be 2/3 of his pension. And then also, she can go to national insurance and claim a survivor's benefit. So this system is set up for MPs to fleece this country. It is a system where they think that they are better than everybody else. And the thing is, they reward themselves because they pass the laws, and they pass the laws to benefit themselves, and they take away what others had. Because we have a pension arrangements that go back to 1925. And they came and they abolished it. They abolished these things, but not for themselves.
Not for themselves. But
Not for them.
I've been trying to. I got the information late, but what I do know for two countries already, I've seen, Mr. Franklin, that their MPs, they get their pension at 55, which is what it was for Barbadian MPs, and then they went and changed it to 50. So so far, it for these two countries, this is Trinidad, and for St. Vincent.
St.
That,
Lucia has the same. Trinidad, St. Lucia, Guyana. All of them have the same. It is. If you look at the legislation, it looks as though they just scratch off Barbados and put on Trinidad, scratch off St. Lucia and put St. Lucia, except that Barbados went a little further and take it down to 55, from 55 to 50. Mind you, I want to repeat for those people who didn't hear last time we were on, the Prime Minister got up and said, oh, this was the situation since 1969. That is only half the truth. The MPs were entitled to a pension from 69 because they were not entitled to a pension before then. And it coincided with the retirement age for public officers, because back then, public officers could have retired at 55. So they then took the public officers' retirement age from 55 to 60 to 65 to 67, and now 68. But while they had done that for public officers, or to public officers, they took theirs down to 50. All started at 55, I thought that when they increased, when they changed the age, they should have changed the age for everybody, but no, not them. So it is a situation where these people just want to live high on the hog. They want to, if they lose their seat at 50, go and look for a job. These are young people. When people outside lose their job, they don't say, well, I want my pension now. They go and look for another job, and they're going to work. Because at 50, you got another 18 years to work before you get your pension. But no, they don't want to work. They only want to, if you listen to MPs talk, you hear them telling about, I can get my 2 terms. And 2 terms is not necessarily 2 terms, because, for instance, if you were a member of the Senate, senators, unless they have office like parliamentary secretary, minister, or president of the Senate, You don't get a salary. You get about $1,500 now. It used to be 14 when it was there, but it got up by 3%. All right. But if you then become a member of the House, those years that were not pensionable in the Senate automatically becomes pensionable, and you only have to serve one term in the
Ah,
Senate to qualify, in the House to qualify you for a pension. I said they're
so
always
they
taking care of each
fix
other.
it to suit themselves, is what you're saying. It is
Yes.
to suit themselves, and not and this is one of the reasons, guys, that we must insist, Barbadians, we must insist that they put the MPs, either they put it at 55, whatever we say, or put it back to 55. Put it back to 55. It is because they're not doing anything for us. Look at what has happened with this bill. If Caswell did not come out and point it out, we would not know that there is a mistake in the bill, that we are paying them. They're supposed to read the things. The senator is supposed to go through it. They should be competent enough to pick up these things. It was debated in the Senate, and in that debate, no senator said, but there's an error here. What are we doing about this? Nobody said anything. But we are to reward them with a pension at 50. The only, seemingly at the moment, I don't know, because I don't know if Caswell know for sure, that no other Caribbean country, their MPs get pension at 50, right?
Nobody else get at 50. The only body that will get pension below 50 or below is the prime minister. Because, for instance, when Golden became prime minister, not Golden, the guy who's there now, um,
Um,
oh there,
Jamaica,
Bruce,
Jamaica.
Jimmy,
Bruce, not Bruce Golden. Why am I can't remember his name? I know. I'll soon tell you. Go ahead.
remember he became prime minister close to the end of the term, and he lost the government.
Mm-hmm.
I think he only served 3 months, and he was entitled to a pension, prime minister's pension. He was 35 at the time. So it is a sickening tradition throughout the Caribbean that the MPs feather the nest. It ain't only Barbados, These just following suit. Somebody said, British Record said, I heard one MP stating that MPs don't get sick leave benefits. Now, could there? Sick leave benefits are for people who don't get a salary when they're sick. MPs get their salary all the time. Sick, dying, they get it. So why would you want to give them a sickness benefit and a salary? You mean to tell me that during pressures they don't get a salary right now, and they're doing that same process, they're not even doing that process because they're on sick leave, and they can get a pension too, and they're going to get benefits too? These people just talk all over the face. It don't make sense. What? Look, cut there. You are working for a salary. You're working for, let's say, $10,000 a month. You go on sick leave, and you still get $10,000 a month. Why would you want national insurance, sickness benefits? Would they be on sick leave all the time?
Listen, they have it made. That's the whole thing, They have it made. And this is why the march that is coming up this Saturday, everybody and the grandmother and the auntie and the uncle and the niece and the nephew need to be out there marching. Listen, Saturday is September 2nd at 10 a.m. Everybody has to be out there. And there are three main areas that we are bringing into focus: the NIS and pension bills, which is what we're talking about. They've got to pull those things back. There are errors in them. They do not represent us. It's not what we want. Pull them back. Tell the government to pull it back, carry it back, pull it back. Transparency and accountability, which they seem to it's almost like they're in malice with these things. They don't walk with these things. Transparency and accountability and justice for workers. You've been hearing Mr. Franklin harping away on that on this show, and we are going out there for the workers. We want transparency and accountability. We want to know what happening with these hotels, what Bridgetown is going to look like. We want to understand what the exact plan that you have for the BDF. We want to know everything that you are planning to do because we put you there, right? Continue, Mr. Franklin.
You know, Leslie Haynes on the radio, he didn't only make the revelation that there was a mistake or acknowledge that there was a mistake. He also said what we were saying on the show all along, that these IMF measures.
Yes, I saw that. I saw that. I thought that this was something that they came up with on their own.
They said that. The Prime Minister said it, Kevin Green said it, Colin Jordan said it, everybody said it was a homegrown program. It was never homegrown. The guy who helped design it, he born in Barbados. But it wasn't homegrown. Because Kevin Greenwich was working for the IMF, he knew exactly what the IMF wanted Barbados to do. So he put it in writing and said, this is a program. And the IMF said, oh, good. No, they're complying what we asked them to do. Because all along, no other prime minister had accepted hook, line, and sinker what this government has done, what this prime minister has done. Somebody's asking, how can they pay 6,000 to an assistant to the backbencher, but can't give civil servants a proper salary? Mind you, I see somebody said this to me, and I don't want to speak to it unless I have all the information in front of me, because if this is the case, they're going to be getting more money. They're so fat that these assistants will be getting more salary than the backbencher, that they're serving. So that's why I want to see the document in the official gazette. I don't want to hear it from somebody says this to me. I want to see the official gazette. Because you have an assistant that working more than you. And that was disclosed by Senator Tate when she spoke out in the House, in the Senate, that it was happening, because this was something that they were doing on the slide until Senator Tate came out and spoke to it. Nobody knew. People to go to house fires. I believe some of these people would like the fire just to go, I don't trust them. They go to house fires and funerals. But nonsense you're telling me. This is corn for the yard, folks. That's all that it is. And what would a fellow who has nothing to do until he comes to work on a Tuesday want an assistant for? And then when they can work on a Tuesday, they don't read the bills. They sit down there smart and speak from a brief that somebody gave them. And they don't touch the legislation. And they talk about all kinds of things. They don't ever collide with the bill. They just talk pretty. Man, it is shocking. Could you send me the link for guests for people who want to log on, because I'm getting some requests on my phone, and I would just pass it to them.
Okay, that they want to watch on YouTube.
They want to watch on YouTube, yeah. So just send me the link.
Guys, use this opportunity. People who are watching, please use this. Use this opportunity to send the link out, the YouTube link and the Facebook link out to others, please. Right? Okay. Use the link to send out. I'm just trying to get it to send to Caswell, and use this opportunity to send the link out. This is so important that we do this. Okay. So important that we do this. Okay. And I'm here trying to find it on my phone, but guys, just send it out quickly to your WhatsApp contacts, right? And get it out. Okay, coming right up now. Yeah, coming up. That people are wanting to log on, and we want to make sure that we have it, that we know what to tell them. So you have it right there. You have it there, Mr. Franklin. You can send it out.
Yes, I'm seeing it now.
Yeah. Let me just read some of these comments that's here. Let me see comments where, okay. Somebody says, yeah, this is another issue. I mean, I'm seeing people saying that, if you can't come and you can't join the marches. They're saying that to any political party, if you can't come and see that the people are hurting, and you can come and join the marches, then you can't get a vote. You can't get our vote. What you want is our vote, because you want to go in there. You promise us. This is the thing. You all promise, and you tell us all the big things that you're going to do when you go in, when you get in, right? When you get into government, all the things that you're going to do. And from what we see, all that is happening, you go in and you make yourself richer. You make yourself fatter financially. You put yourself in a position of prosperity, is what you do, right? And so if you can't be with the poor people, if you can't come out and you hear people crying out and people complaining, and you can't come out and get on the ground with us, it's a fair question to ask. Why should you expect people to vote for you? It's a fair question. It's a fair question, because you need us. You need us. We've been believing in you. This is why we've been voting. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I'm trying to put up your comments now. Is the Barbados Parliament legally constituted? And the person say, I think not. I will wait for um, um, Mr. Franklin to respond to that when he's finished. Someone, the personal assistants to backbenchers are making more than registered nurses, police, up to superintendent, and many other positions in government that are performing more critical work. Well, if we can verify, Mr. Franklin says he's going to try to verify that the amount that it is, people are saying that they're getting, that it is so, because that's what I will tell you, Mr. Franklin. Make sure that he checks the facts, and make sure that we come on here with facts. As you can see, what is happening, that other media houses pick up on it after it happens here. So we want to make sure that it's facts. So he's going to check that. But if it is so, I could understand your comment, Mr. Straker. Yeah.
No, but
Yes.
I heard that the money said it, and I want to see. I want to read for myself. I do not want to get here a comment somewhere and just repeat it. I don't work like that. I like to read for myself. I was reading from the time I was about 5, and I still do it every day. So I want to read for myself. I want to be able to look and say, well, yes, this is what it says, because it should be in the official gazette. If there are officers of parliament, as I am told that there are, because, for instance, the constituency assistants are staff of parliament. Each MP has a constituency assistant. Their employer is parliament, and their head of department is the clerk of parliament. Mind you, he doesn't pick them; he just pays them. The person assistant to ministers, they are employed by the cabinet office. Ministers don't employ anybody. So when you hear them talking about my staff, that's just big talk, foolish talk. So I want to read it. And I'm looking, I'm checking for the official gazette all the time. I don't know why they're not publishing it.
I know as soon as you get it, you're going to come and read it on this show, right?
I can tell you.
What's it? Issue a direct invitation to DLP and the APP and other parties to join the march. Do we really need to do that? I don't think that we need to issue any invitation to the DLP or APP or whatever else. If you are serious about helping people, if you're serious about the betterment of this country and making sure that every citizen is properly taken care of, our elderly, Nobody has to issue you a special invitation to come to anything. Absolutely not. Then what's the point? If we have to issue you an invitation to come, can you imagine that? And you're supposed to be working for the people that don't, no, no, no. I would not be. I don't know what you feel about that, Mr. Franklin.
When the white people were having their march to protest against the NSRL, they didn't have to invite Mia Motley. She was up front. That is why the Democrat Labour Party will suffer at the polls all the time, because they don't know how to relate to people. This is an issue for everybody in Barbados, and there should be and they should be there saying, well, look, I can't allow my people to go out there and don't support them, because I don't want to support on the road, you know.
Mm-hmm.
They should have been out on every march that we had. Mind you, I saw a few DLP people on the first march. I did, but there were a few and very far between. The hierarchy of the DLP, they didn't even comment on it all of that time. I think they were forced out after a while. But they gotta start looking at and say, well, they realize that they are out there to look out for our well-being. If they can't do it while they're not in the house, they won't be able to do it when they're there. So the thing is, I don't vote for them. I trust me, I voted for them the last time because I didn't have a choice. But this time around, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. It's as
Yeah.
simple as.
I think that Barbados, through the show, you should be waking up, Bajans, and not be running behind any party just because you want to run behind a party. No, we're too intelligent for that. There's too much there. This information is being spilled out. You could go back over and watch some of these shows, but we should not be doing that. You can't stand up for us. You can't speak up for us. You can't come and hit the pavement for us. No, 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 no. I that's my belief about it. That's my belief. Yes, I know that they came out, the DLP for sure came out and said a few words and so on. But it's a very, the approach is a very standoffish approach. And so we have to remember, and yes, we're not saying that the DLP, we want DLP to come and take over what is happening, but you need to represent the people. You need to represent the people. Don't just send a little WhatsApp, you're encouraging the march, but you're doing it. Why are you hiding and encouraging the march? I want to ask those in the different political parties. You're encouraging the march, and you know too. You're hiding and encouraging the march. What are you afraid of? You're running a political party. Why are you hiding and defending the march? Why are you hiding and sending little messages to people that you know are part of the march and keep marching? This is what the prime minister says. So why are you not out there? Why you not out there? What is it? What could they be afraid of, Mr. Franklin? Why are they sending messages to encourage people, WhatsApp messages to people that they believe are people that are planning and working on the marches? I know that as a fact that those messages are sent. My question: why are they doing it and quietly and not, um, you know,
um
publicly?
all it goes to show is that it is not only the Barbados Labour Party MPs that are afraid of Miss Motley. Even the people outside the other parties are afraid of her too. I don't
Mm.
know if they think that they can get this voodoo thing that she went to Ghana and got. I don't know what it is, but something happening. They're fighting for her. People, I'm telling you, I don't understand how she became a monster. No, they are actually afraid of her. I think the Dems are afraid of her. And I know definitely the Barbados Labour Party people are, because if you look at Sonia Brown, and she was there in the wilderness, and she and speaking up, she was probably the only one that wasn't afraid not to make her minister. So she's well and truly now into the fold.
And we don't even know that she exists anymore. We don't hear anything from her.
That's because she don't speak out anymore. The thing is, and the matter minister, not a real minister, because a real minister, they only got one of them in each. According to the Constitution, you only have one minister in a ministry, and if that minister needs help, you give him a parliamentary secretary. That is what the Constitution provides for. But they have minister this, minister state, minister in the ministry. There's no such thing, not in our Constitution. But each minister get the same salary, except become one of these senior ministers, which is not provided for anywhere in the rules. The prime minister just make up these things as you go along. But a minister gets a minister's pay, full stop. And you get minister pay up from backbencher, your salary now. Oh, that is a nice thing. I should have mentioned this earlier when we talked about pensions, but it no dawned on me. If you are a public officer and you act in a higher position, in order to qualify for your pension at that higher level, you will have to be at that salary for 3 years. The higher salary, because your salary is based on the 3-year average. So the
Okay.
highest, right? But an MP, if you were a backbencher all your life, and then coming on near the end of your term, you become a minister for 3 months, you get the minister's pension. Yeah, you only got to serve 3 months.
Wow.
Once you qualify for the pension and serve as a minister for 3 months, bam, you get minister's pension. Civil servant, 3 years.
You see, my goodness. Did you all hear that? Wait, let me see if the class, did you all hear what Mr. Franklin said? If you heard what Mr. Franklin said, put up a thumbs up there for me, please. I'm wondering if can you, for the benefit of the class, all 300 of us, can you repeat what you just said right there, sir?
I said, if you are a public officer and you are acting in a higher office, to get your salary based on the 2/3 of that higher office, you would have to be in that position for 3 years.
Right.
However, if you're an MP and you qualify for your pension and you say you're a backbencher, in order to qualify for the minister's pension, you would have to be a minister for 3 months.
These people, man, they make the laws and they make everything to suit themselves. And I'm waiting for the day my Bajan people, the sleeping giant. Remember, I gave you that analogy before? Mr. Franklin, you have the giant there. While the giant is sleeping, you can go and you can poo poo on them, you can wee wee on them, you can throw water on them, especially if they're in a deep sleep. You can do all manner of things to a giant when the giant is sleeping. You could sit down on their face, you could throw dirt and filth on them, right? You could do anything with them once they're asleep. But you see, the moment that giant wakes up, you see the moment that giant started to shake itself and to get up, all of that over, because a giant is always a giant. Even when they were throwing the things on the giant was a giant, just that the giant was sleeping, right? That's it. But you see, when the giant wakes up, and tonight, all 300 of us on here, there is a waking up that is happening, and the sleeping giant, the Bajans, the sleeping giant that we are, we're waking up and we're throwing off all of those little things that they had tied up. They can even tie up the giant. They can do it because you're sleeping and you're sleeping long. They have enough time to tie you up, right? But you see, when you get up and you pull off them little wrists off yourself, and you get up and you start, every man jack going to scatter, and that is what happens with this march. That is what is going to happen with these marches. When they realize the numbers are growing and you are not stopping, I bet you, they're going to reverse all of these changes. I am telling you that they will. They will. The power is in your hands, Barbadians. The power is in your hands. Let me tell you this little thing here before we hear from Caswell again. I'm in Trinidad here. There's a gentleman here, Umar Abdullah, and they have been having a peaceful protest in front of the Ministry of Education. And I went to join them yesterday. They were there for 67 days, Mr. Franklin. They take turns and they go there for 67 days and sit down in front of the Ministry of Education to get signatures because they are worried that the concern is there and they have reason to be concerned that they're trying to change their curriculum to include this gender, gender, whatever, you know what I'm talking about. The term is slipping me right now, right? They're putting all of those things inside. They're trying to do it. So these people believe that this is this is a group here, and why their name Umar Abdullah heads up the group, and they were there for 67 days. And a lot of you came out for the first march, and you don't want to come back for any more. Some of you have not come for any yet because you tell yourself that it doesn't make any sense. Do you hear that the Prime Minister is speaking about it? Don't you hear? I read something today, and I'm going to ask Mr. Franklin to confirm it. But I read somewhere where the Prime Minister said, "Well, they won't rule out changing, changing the pension age. I'm pushing it back. They won't rule out that." I saw that somewhere. So they are listening, and a lot of them are on here tonight. I tell you, not just them, but other news
Okay.
outlets that are here to pick up on things. They're right here.
Okay.
And you march one time and you tired, you finish. Some of you you haven't come out yet. No, we all have to do the work. Saturday at 10 o'clock, you hear? Saturday at 10 o'clock. Look at what Stephen Strickland, is this Stephen Strickland, was he the
Yes,
speaker?
that,
Oh
that is
my
the
god,
same. Like,
Mr. Strickland, I miss you on the second march. You were phenomenal. And I came on here and big up everybody. And I was asking, I couldn't remember your first name. You were, oh Lord, you were a breath of fresh air when you hit that microphone. Mr. Strickland, we want you back. You don't want him back, Mr. Caswell, Mr. Franklin?
definitely.
Listen. Over to you, gender neutral. Yes, over to you, Mr. Franklin.
You see, with Trinidadians, there's suspects something is happening, and they want the curriculum change. In Barbados, what we do, we move it, we in gradually so that it will become acceptable. If you will remember when the government proposed this welcome stamp thing,
Mm-hmm.
then they introduced into our laws things like domestic partnership, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and domestic partners then were defined as a man and a man, a woman and a woman, living together. So and I asked them during that debate, you buggery was against the law, and if buggery is against the law, and you have two men, you are encouraging situations where two men will be living together. You already feel that when they come home from work, and they do cook dinner, that's they can just go sit down and watch Days of Our Lives. They can do something else. So you are encouraging that behavior. So you should actually change the law first. But they were afraid to change the law because if they change it, Barbados will have a certain amount of people who are Christians who might not vote for them.
Mm-hmm.
But they allow again the courts to change the laws for them. These things should not be done by the courts. The
Mm-hmm.
courts will say, well, we're going to it's wrong. It's wrong, but it's the law. So you have to get to Parliament because Parliament is there to make laws, not the courts. But we
Mm-hmm.
have courts recently making laws in Barbados. And then again, when they have the Employment Prevention of Discrimination Act, they also came in and they sneak it in again. They talk about you can't discriminate against a person because of his race. I don't really say race, origin, political opinion, trade union affiliation, color, creed, sex, sexual orientation, see, social status, marital status, domestic partnership status. You see, so they even
Mm-hmm.
they put it in twice. The water in so bad they put it in twice. So we are putting in legislation and easing it in so that it become acceptable. You know, you if you come along seeing things, you know, after a while it would normalize it
Mm-hmm.
because they don't want to touch it. They don't have the courage to touch it.
Mm-hmm.
Mind you, they might have their ways and they might want to do these things, but they're not troubling them. Now, that's why a lot of people were saying, "Oh, you promised me this, you promised me that, I've been doing it." So we going to support you again because
Yeah.
up to now, yes. So that's why they have to come and get these things done. But I want to tell you about something that to show you how the government behaves when they make mistakes. This was a mistake. I'm going to talk about now. It was a mistake. I drew it to their attention, and they covered it up from everybody in Barbados but me because I'm the person who discovered it. Some years ago, in 2021 to be exact, I was representing a public officer who should have been appointed to act as magistrate.
Mm.
I represent everybody, man, all right. And I had to make some inquiries as to why the person wasn't appointed. And then I discovered the people who were appointed, and worse yet, I discovered that the people who were appointed to act as magistrates, none of them were sworn by the Governor General. So they did not really have any authority to dispense justice. They couldn't
Mm-hmm.
lock up anybody. They couldn't preside over a court unless you go before the head of state, which was her representative at the time, the Governor General, and get the King's Commission or the Queen's Commission to dispense Her Majesty's justice. I called the Chief Justice and I reported it to him.
Mm.
He apparently referred it to the Attorney General or whoever. And then when the Constitution came into force, the new Constitution that people are saying we don't have, you were not required to swear because the Constitution Amendment Act says that you were deemed to have complied with that, having been sworn before this under the old Constitution. So there was no need to swear. And I heard the Attorney General and others say, "Oh, this is just a formality." No, it was not a formality. It was to get those magistrates who were not sworn. So we had a lot of people in jail, locked up unlawfully. And how they did it? They pretended to be doing a formality of some sort of theater to swear people in so they can now say, well, okay, no, they're sworn in. But the fact remains that the people who were already in jail by a magistrate who had no power to put you in jail were still in jail.
Wow. Wow.
And they hit it up. They hit it up. I had this on my thing for a long time, waiting for the right time to disclose it. I think it is now. I challenge them, any of them, to deny what I'm saying. That we had a number of magistrates who were sworn in by the chief personnel officer. The chief personnel officer was not the head of state. She can't swear in magistrates and judges, but she did.
Why?
You have to
Why?
go to government.
Why was that done?
Hmm?
Why was that done?
I have no idea. I have no idea. But that person was rewarded for that bad behavior. They got a kind of promotion as a result.
So, Mr.
And
Franklin, can the lawyers for those persons that were locked up in jail, can they use this as argument for them to be released?
not only released but compensated. But you see, the thing is, I don't think the lawyers knew because they would not be aware that the people were not properly sworn. Every acting magistrate that you had up to November 2021 was not lawfully sworn.
So what's the time period? Repeat. I know you said it earlier.
I said up to 2021.
From what time?
I don't know from what time, but I know that if you're an acting magistrate and they
Mm-hmm.
took you before the chief personal officer, I don't know how long it went back, but I
Ah,
know it was a few years. So we had a lot of people who went to jail, who were remanded by these magistrates, who had no authority to remand, to try, to sentence, to do anything to anybody. But
so
I do
they,
not blame the
they they
lawyers.
corrected it. They corrected it since.
They corrected it by pretending that they were doing a formality at the independence, not independence, but republic, their thing, when they got everybody. I refused to be sworn. I said I am already sworn and I'm not going back. I was the only public official that was not sworn a second time. So people tell me that
Wow.
they were not going to let me come in the Senate. I said, no, read the Constitution Amendment Act. I'm already sworn. So they had to swear this magistrate in, and they did it on the sly, pretending that they were lawfully in office, and they're just doing a little formality, enough for the
Yeah.
sake of the celebration
Wow.
of the thing. And that is when they
Wow.
were born in 2021 independence, when they went up, not independence,
And you
republic.
said you brought this to the attention of who did you, the Attorney General?
No, I called the Chief Justice and I told him that this is the situation. He then, in turn, would have called the Attorney General or whoever, and the Attorney General said that all these swearing-ins were just a formality. Because we know the act one said that you have to be amended. Because I stuck out that I ain't going to get sworn the second time. I don't want to run them anyhow because I don't know why COVID. So I wasn't taking any chances. So I said, I ain't going up there. And they went and then swore them for the first time. So some of them had already dispensed justice. Some of them had already sentenced people to jail, remand them to prison, do all kinds of things, and men pay money for maintenance, all kinds of things these fellas did. I have no authority in law to do so.
Once again, this is another thing, and this is why I believe that they are an incompetent bunch of people. I don't know if it is that they are not allowed to do their jobs. Is it that they are bullied into submission and they're not thinking anymore? They're not allowed to do their jobs, or it is that they're just plain incompetent. And somebody's saying that the government has lost legitimacy and should be forced to resign. And that's the point I'm at. I don't know if anybody else there, but that's where I'm at because I don't stand for foolishness. You're not doing the job, then you need to go. But the question is, I mean, remember that they have the 30 seats. How do you get them out? How do we when you listen to all the things the police calling the police force, the police service, when it is by law, that is not the name for the police force, but they're doing it because the international community is pushing that terminology. That is what the woke people are pushing, the people who are woke in the world. And this government tried to be with the woke crowd. Okay? So this is the police service. But it's not legally, it's not in the act. The act hasn't changed the name. It's still the police force. Is that they are calling it a pseudo name. And all of these different things, the mistakes in the bills that they rushed and passed both in the
Section,
Senate
Section
and
3 of the Police Act says the force established in and for Barbados, in respect of which provision was made under the Police Act 1908, shall continue to be maintained under this Act and shall be designated as the Royal Barbados Police Force. That is what the law says. In order to have a police service, you have to change this act. Just like the time when I said, I said that when I heard that they appointed the second deputy, I said, no, I remember reading this act. And that act says they only got one deputy. Of course, I was vilified and laughed at, and the Attorney General and everybody doing me. And then eventually they went to Parliament and passed piece of legislation to appoint the person that they wanted to appoint and backdated the legislation so that he would be in there and get his pension after 3 years in that post, because 3 years gives you the maximum pension of that salary. And they laughed at me. I don't mind getting laughed at. It doesn't really bother me. But they cannot continue to be this shoddy. They think that governing and governance is a plaything for their own self-aggrandizement, but they are out there making Barbados a laughing stock. You know how many people know? Back to the other one, would have been in jail on that time. I got sentenced by an acting magistrate. How he think he would feel to know that I shouldn't have been up there? And I'll bet you know that it's out. They ain't offering a compensation.
That's the thing.
Somebody will have to put them in court. And knowing the courts in Barbados, they would find a way to give you $50. I don't trust them either. Sad to say, but I don't trust them either.
When this is one thing I think, though, if you, regardless of the party that you're from, or that your mother used to vote for and your father, and you come down and just use your common sense, do you think that a bill that is so important, I want to ask all the BLP supporters who are on here and you're listening, you can comment as well. I want to hear from you. Think about it. You think that a bill that is so important to Barbadians, and a bill that you would expect, I expect the officials who are working on the bill to spend the time to work on the bill, but that the bill would have been brought to 29 persons within the MPs, and of course the Prime Minister making 30. And nobody saw this mistake in it. Nobody saw an important mistake which could change. This mistake is so grave that it could change your life. It could change the lives of Barbadians, because if it is what was written, it means that the state now has control over the NIS funds, and also that the Minister of Finance is the person who is responsible for determining the type of investments that are made from the fund. All of that would be what it is that could affect our lives. And you are telling me, regardless of the party, just put that aside for a moment and think about it. You had these 30 MPs, then you had 22 senators, right? Sat
21.
down, 21, and debated a bill with all these errors, and they had a debate from morning till evening, and nobody, when you listen to the debate, heard anybody brought that up as an issue. You in your mind, you think that is competency? You think that
Marcia,
is
I think I must help you here with the thing. The
yes.
provision was that the state, who is the Prime Minister and her cabinet, will advise the Minister of Finance on how to spend this money. So the Prime Minister will advise the Minister of Finance. The Prime Minister and Minister of Finance and Barbados is the same person. That's how dangerous it was, because you will be advising yourself. And if people tell me that that is right, there's no hope for them. Trust me. the Prime Minister would have advised the Prime Minister, or rather, the Prime Minister would have advised the Minister of Finance
Mm-hmm.
what to take. So what she will do, wait a minute, and say, Minister of Finance, this is what we want you to do. And then Minister of Finance will say, thank you, Prime Minister. And well, Lord, forget this. This is ridiculous, you know. I still don't believe it was an error. It was clumsy, but and then he's saying, oh, there were other errors. He never said, oh, what the other errors are. I'm waiting because I saw another one too. So since he said there are other errors, I'm going to wait and see if they're or just it will just let them behind me to see if I can identify one.
Yeah.
You know,
You know,
and he said he didn't come to the calling program to argue with me. Why never? I don't argue with anybody.
I think as the comment here is saying, because of the sly way in which it was written, it was intended. This person said it was intended to deceive. It's hard to not think that, but I want to, if even if I gave them the benefit of the doubt, it's just gross incompetence. Gross gross incompetence. And if we are truly going to take off our party glasses, if we truly take off the party glasses, we would see it. But because we decide we're keeping on the party glasses, then we will say that we brush it aside. That's not something to be brushed aside. That is like a woman who is in a relationship and being abused, and everybody outside of the relationship can see their swollen eye and your bust up mouth, and we know that's something wrong, and we're trying to help you, and you will not see it. You won't see it. But it is the same thing that is happening here. Okay, the same thing that is happening here, and it's unfortunate that if you can't see the gross incompetence, okay, if you want to give them the benefit of the doubt. But I mean, it makes you feel that it wasn't a mistake. It could have been, possibly could have been what was intended. Oh Lord.
I think I need to. Marcia also, it wasn't 21 senators there out there because I understand that Monique was not there, and rest assured, she most likely would have picked it up because she goes through this legislation and embarrassed them. A lot of the times, I remember going back in 2018 when she discovered some things with the Water Authority Amendment bill that had at the time, and they asked, let it pass, and they will come back and fix it by October. If memory serves me correct, October, that was 2018, and October 2018 ain't come yet, because they haven't fixed it yet, you know. So I suspect that's one of the reasons why Monique don't voted against the integrity legislation, because they had too many things inside there that she could not support. Like, for instance, public officers were not told that they were covered by the legislation. All right? And that you have principals of secondary schools, the chief archivist, um, a whole set of people that you wouldn't expect to have any impact on government, one way or the other, because the chief archivist, most people do him to carry up a whole book. And so she was standing up for the public officers. Mind you, she stood up for public officers when the unions were not. The unions were out there sitting down, twiddling their thumbs, while Monique was in the Senate fighting for them.
Ha.
You know, so 20 senators or so were there, but she wasn't. Trust me, if she was there, most likely we would have seen a different debate because she would have picked it up. Because she's very astute, you know. She she goes through with a fine tooth comb, and when she gets up, the rest have to sit down and listen. They can't interrupt because they don't know how to interrupt her. They sit there
Right.
with me and stuff, but with her, she would, and she knew and she knows the law. She knows the law well. So when she comes out, they just sit down in awe. And let them think. But I understand too also that even if in the Senate, because what had happened when I was there, we were sending back a lot of things to the lower house. And they were given instructions, don't bring back no more because they were looking bad. Because when we pointed out things, mostly Senator Taylor and myself, and I think the youngster whose father was DLP minister now, from Christchurch South, boys. I think one was his, all the others, and they got vexed and tell them don't bring them back. So when the integrity of public life bill came the first time, the leader of the government business had no option because he had instructions don't bring them back. And they claimed that the independent senators blocked that bill. That was a lie and nothing else. It is not a misunderstanding or anything like that. It was a bold-faced lie. The independent senators did not block anything simply because, mind you, that was the day we walked out. When Lisa Cummings, I thought she was going to bring COVID for us. So we walked out. And the Senate didn't have enough people to pass a constitutional amendment. They need 14 votes, and there were only 13 people in the Senate. So when you put it, it will fail. If everybody voted for that bill that day in the Senate, it would still have failed because they needed 14 yes votes. And they're going around the place telling people that the independent senators, and I'm surprised that the independent senators that want to stand up and said that is not true. It could not possibly have passed with the people in the Senate. But they tell the country lie after lie, trying to get them convinced that it's the independent senators that blocked it. And it's going to be really hard enough for independent senators to block it because right now you have an independent government senator, that's what I could call him, in the form of Senator Rogers, because he's on all these committees for the government. You can't be independent of the government and serve on all these committees of government. Right now, I call him an independent government senator. So he would have voted for it most likely. So they only need 2 more votes to pass anything in Senate. They got him, and God knows who else they will get.
Wow, Barbados, it's the people. It's the people that have to do it. The people, Mr. Franklin. I see Lynette is here. Good night, Lynette. I know you. You're all ready for this march, and I want you to talk about the march, but I want you to jump in here with this question somebody asked: are Black Bajans much better off since 2018? Since 2018, does your young adult children have clear paths to upward mobility? So both of you think about that question, but I want to bring Miss Lynette Eastman in this to talk about this march and why Bajans need to come out for Saturday. First of all, will you be there?
Of course I'll be there. I'll be there bright and early as usual. There are a lot of issues, and I think that since we started this whole process, having the discussions, having the march, people have become more aware, for sure. People are more aware of what is happening. They're aware of what the march is about. They've learned a number of things from the various individuals who have spoken, both here and on the march. So then they're able to make decisions or have opinions, because sometimes we may feel that Barbadians don't speak up and express their views, but sometimes they don't have the information. They don't have the basic information to inform themselves. So therefore, they don't say anything. And that's fair enough, because most people don't want to speak for then it to be found out that, your perception of the facts was incorrect or anything like that. And CASWELL here has done, an excellent job at drawing a number of issues from the very beginning to our attention, and he continues to do that by reading the legislation and sharing it with us in a way that everybody can understand. So we really have to thank him for that. So it is because of this that there are a number of issues now that people understand. And even then, now they're able to extrapolate from what they have heard us say to do their own research and to come up with, you know, their own ideas and opinions on related matters. So to me, this is something that needs to continue because we need to have more people on board and more people learning all the time. I mean, all of us have learned something from the
Correct.
whole process. So it isn't about one set of people learning or one set of people teaching and one set learning. I think we're all learning from each other and we're all teaching each other. And this is something, yes, that I believe must continue until we get that accountability and transparency that we need, because it is only when that happens that we can really start to turn back the tide. So, you know, the question about young adult children and their upward mobility, the you know, there's still people in Barbados who question whether there's corruption. I still see people question that, whether there's corruption and whether it has an impact on you know, Barbadians, because there are people who may feel that if a minister gets a minister somewhere gets a cut off of some deal, that doesn't affect them. But as immediately as that happens, the cost of the project goes up
Mm.
immediately, because obviously the person involved in the project, they have to make a profit.
Right.
They have to meet their expenses. So then if there is something on top of that that they have to pay somebody, they have to include that in their costs. Now, if it's a government project, who ultimately will pay? It's the taxpayers. So it affects us in that way. The other thing is that, you know, there are a number of young people and probably not so young people now who grew up with the promise that, you know, if you went to school and learn, you will prosper, not just survive. And there are many who went to school, they learned, they went overseas and studied, they got certain qualifications, or they went into business. Government is the biggest service provider in Barbados and the biggest consumer of services, goods and services, one of the biggest single consumer of goods and services in Barbados. And when those contracts continue to go, big and small, not based on merit, but based on connections, um, it will mean that a young person who comes out to start a business, they can't put money in anybody's campaign. They're not starting their business, they're not making a lot of money. So they can't put money in anybody's campaign. So sometimes immediately, even though they might be skilled, they're well trained, they're educated, they have a good business model, they don't get, you know, they're just not in the queue for any of the business from government because they don't have those connections. And
Mm.
I think that that's a great failing. This is what makes many young people despondent. Some of them feel that they have a better chance if they go to Canada or the US or somewhere like that. Can you imagine?
Mm.
You know, and I remember many years ago, I knew someone from the Caribbean who had studied law. And she felt that she had a better chance of succeeding with her law degree if she went to the United States and then did the bar there than she had in her own home. And I always used to say, well, at least in Barbados we're not like that. But there are some fields in which that is the case, that you stand a better chance abroad in a
Mm.
bigger country where absolutely nobody knows you than you stand in Barbados. You have a fair chance there. And to me, that is one of the biggest um, problems that corruption creates. We educate people, but then they're not allowed to hone their skills here. It means then that even though we have educated them, they go abroad and they use those skills in somebody else's country. It means then that even if they can export their goods, services, their intellectual property, or whatever, the return is not coming to Barbados.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a problem. So we would always remain where we are because we are not allowing for the brilliance that might be in our people to rise to the fore. And I don't know if people do not understand that even from a selfish perspective, if we allow the brilliant people to come through and do well, they will help to build a country from which all of us will benefit. If you come up with some invention or innovation or whatever, and you build a business in Barbados, the accountants will benefit, the lawyers will benefit. But the problem is we have not allowed that to happen. We haven't facilitated our people. The people with the brilliant ideas have always had to go overseas, and then that benefit goes to another country, and then we give them some kind of independence award. We then call them back and say, "Oh, you've done brilliantly over there. Come back and let us give you an award."
Yeah.
That doesn't help us.
I want to say, listen to you, Lynette. One of my sons, he just loves Barbados. And so he is trying, I could see him, trying every way to find a way to come back here. He's studying, overseas. And he can't, he just loves Barbados. And I see that boy, he's trying. I mean, I know it's going to be tough in that field, but I admire it. But I don't know how long it's going to hold out, going to happen for. His dad and I, we're not going to encourage him one way or the other because it's his life. But I mean, the average child that's doing that in that particular field, they don't want to come back here. Most of our young people are leaving. And the thing is that when I just came to Barbados, it wasn't always that way. Actually, I've seen such an increase in this brain drain that is happening. And so and especially over the last couple of years. So this is why the person is asking the question: do we find that, and we have to say as Black people, because the merchants seem to be getting a break, which is mainly white Barbadian. I'm going to say what it is. um you know but Black people, can we really say that our lives is much better? I'm here in Trinidad, and I'm continually shocked, Lynette, when I go to the supermarket and realizing that when I do the calculations, I'm paying three times as much. If I go to the supermarket here, with $1,000, what I'm take or 300 TT, then what I'm taking back um home is really three times the worth of what I could buy in Barbados, with that kind of money. So I'm saying that, we are being told, for example, I heard the prime minister was saying, well, Trinidad, they get a better, Barbados has the best pension, rate in the Caribbean and better than Trinidad. But I'm here and realizing that everything here is so much cheaper, 3 times less than in
Yes, and
Barbados.
yes, and that was always the case when I studied there. Everything was cheaper, especially the fact that they had such a thriving market scene that you could get really cheap fruits and vegetables, so that really there wasn't a difficulty in eating well at all. You could go to the market with a few dollars and come back with a bag full of stuff that if you wanted to eat in that way and not eat any of the other stuff, the bread and all that, you really could
Yes, you could.
afford you
You
could
could
afford
afford
to do
that.
that. And so that's the beauty of Trinidad. So we always knew it was a bit more expensive here. Um, but still, at that time, I think many students who were educated abroad, they studied abroad, or they did a CCA abroad or whatever. They were very much interested in coming back to Barbados. Barbados was
Yes,
still like anywhere you could go in the world, because after you get your ACCA or whatever, you could choose to stay in Europe if you wanted to. But
mm-hmm.
many of those people wanted to come back to Barbados and decided to come back to Barbados, even though they had opportunities abroad. I mean, I had an opportunity to go to Australia and study and teach, and I decided to come back here. So there are lots of and that's just my own example, but there are tons of people, my contemporaries, that could have chosen not to be here, but chose to be here. They had an interest in working here. They had an interest in building up their country. Um, but this notion of not being able to compete properly at all, even though you have your qualifications and whatever else, um, that is something that was not always there. That wasn't always there. There was this feeling that you could come, you could work, you could build up your business, whatever it was, or you could be employed, get a decent living, and be able to contribute to your society. But I can see that younger people now just feel that it isn't worth it. I mean, I overheard I was I was actually so dismayed. It was a conversation it was a like a little shop, selling groceries and stuff, and there were like two or three young ladies talking about what they were going to do in the future, and one was talking about taking some classes being offered. I think there were classes being offered at Springer
Mm.
Memorial School, and her colleagues were telling her that, asking her what's the point of going and doing that.
Mm.
That everything is determined by who you know in Barbados. And they were discouraging her. They were saying it's a waste of time. Why you going to go there like every evening trying to get additional qualifications? And I thought that was, I mean, because like that conversation would not have. There was a time when that conversation would not have happened, even though we know that sometimes obviously somebody knows of a job somewhere, they phone you and they tell you, okay, apply for or whatever. We know that happens, but there was still a feeling that you didn't have to know somebody, that your
you
qualifications
could,
would
you could.
speak.
But
Your
the
qualifications, how
feeling
you
now,
presented yourself.
you're saying that it's different now. There is that feeling where, and you
There's
can
that
see,
feeling. Now, I don't
yeah,
know if it's just a feeling.
yeah.
I don't know if it's just a feeling, or
Let,
if these young
open your
ladies
mic,
have a reason for
Caswell.
saying
Open
that.
your mic. Caswell, because what we're talking about, Caswell, is whether
it
our
is not
lives
only
have
a
been
feeling.
better off. Go ahead,
It is not only a
Caswell.
feeling, it is a reality. I can give you an example that happened to me. When my office was on White Park Road, just a few yards away from the National Assistance Board, some young ladies went there applying for a job, and they were told, go and get a letter from your MP. That is widespread. But this is what actually happened to me. They came to me, seeking a letter. I said, no, that mean me. Because they figured I was in the Senate, and they knew me. So they came to get a letter from me. No, if you don't get a letter from your MP at a lot of these statutory boards, I don't care what qualification you have. You remember some programs back, I told you that we had a general manager of the statutory corporation that did not, other than baptism and birth certificate, the only other certificate he would ever get would be death certificate. Had
I
none
remember
others.
you told us that. I remember.
But he was general manager. It is who you know. These young ladies, and I've heard other places telling me, boy, you gotta get a letter from your MP. If the MP don't write the letter, for you don't get a job here at these statutory boards. So the playing field is not level. So that is why a lot of people are leaving. We have the brain, and we end up with a brain drain. But then we end up with a brain drain, and then we laugh back with the laying brains in Parliament. That is the biggest problem that we have, because those
the brain drain and the lame brains.
No, but yeah, we end up with laying brains in Parliament because those same brain drains that you have might have made good MPs, but they're not here. Mind you, they can come back and become MPs very quickly because if you're away for 5 years or more, you couldn't go and serve in the House or the Senate, just like that. But then they changed it for Kim McConney. Remember? This is what we do. This is who we are. MSNBC, of course. So I want to address the part we're talking about. The prices are too high. I spoke about it and I got chastised. My wife spoke to me, telling me I shouldn't say certain things. So I'm not going to say the same things again. But I'm going to tell you that the prices in Barbados, she heard me and she chastised me. The program was finished. The way I characterize some people. But then you have businesses in Barbados. You have a situation where, and it is widespread. Going back when I was a boy in school, we had some fellas who parents had businesses. They weren't doing the work because they know that when they leave school, they're gonna work in their father's business. Mm-hmm. They don't learn nothing. They can't advance the business anywhere. But you have to provide a salary for them. So the prices have to go up. We have a lot of white businesses in Barbados where that is the case. Where you have situations that the owner's sons and their cousins and their friends' cousin and their friends' children have to get jobs. So that's responsible for a big part of the markup and a lot of goods that is happening in this country. I know of one business in Barbados. They import food stuff. Mm-hmm. The receptionist, white receptionist, has a company car. Now, how many receptionists don't get a company car in any business in the world? But you see what's happening. And the government refuses to control the prices because if the prices controlled, they can't get the kickbacks for the election campaign. Mm-hmm. Look, you remember during the COVID period when there had been on this state of emergency, the Prime Minister took upon herself power to do all manner of things, including control prices. And she did all manner of things except control prices. And then she went talking about we were going to have a compact with the merchants and pretended that they were doing something. They weren't doing anything. That was show. That was deception. Because under the I think one of the reasons why they got rid of Bamford Tate is that he did price control to keep poor people in this country to afford a certain level of basket of goods, so to speak. And he had price controls. And the merchants then sabotage him by not importing the stuff that were price controlled. So that is one of the reasons that made the Democratic Labour Party so unpopular prior to 1976, because Bradford Tate was Minister of Trade, and he had a regime of price control. Mind you, I subsequently went and I worked at the price control division after I left school and stuff. One of my jobs was in price control, and it can still work. But this time around, do it like how they used to do with cars, TVs, fridges. Say to them that the markup cannot be more than 10% or 15%, so that if you buy it and the shipping cost is up, because they keep blaming shipping costs, say, but your markup cannot be more than 10% or 15% or whatever percentage it is, so that you don't disadvantage them by a fixed price. But you have to declare and disclose all your documentation to the price control authorities, so that if we find that you are selling it above the 10% or the 15% or whatever markup it is, then we will lock you up, because it'll be a criminal offense. They're not doing that. They're not interested in protecting local people. When I was an immigration officer in 1980-81, I worked at the airport those 2 years. We had people coming from Trinidad in small planes to shop, buy car tires, buy whiskey, buy food, buy all kind of stuff.
In Barbados?
Huh?
Barbados? They were coming to Barbados to shop?
Trinidadians used to come to Barbados
Yeah,
to
that's
shop.
correct.
They used to catch a small plane and come to Barbados and one day and shop, and then back down the road. And no, look what's happening.
How many of you listening know of this? I always thought we go to Trinidad to shop. I didn't know Trinids were coming to Barbados to shop.
Yeah, no, but our politicians and our merchants in Barbados have destroyed everything, because our pricing stuff is greed and taking care of our relatives who can't find work elsewhere. That's why our markups are so high. I think I give an example some time ago that I went to represent a man who was accused of disclosing confidential information. You know what confidential information was? He worked for a white company in Barbados. Then he was the fellows who used to move the earth to please. And he was a black manager earning $9,000 a month. They brought a white school leaver and said to him, I want you to train him to be a supervisor. And he took up the job with gusto. The fellow no first pay a check. He just tear off the check and threw the rest of it in hand, and somebody said, I'm in the yard, pick it up, and we're in shock. So this guy picks up he brought to the guy, the black man who was making $9,000 a month, and he said, look at this. And he looked at it and he couldn't believe his eyes. So he asked the supervisor of number of years of experience, how much money is paid about here? He said, you got my business? He said, no, nothing like that. And he showed him the pay slip for the trainee supervisor, trainee white supervisor. And the master expletives, of course. I'm making $6,000 and he making 18,000. Man, the trainee white supervisor making $18,000. First pay check. The black supervisor of lots of years making 6. And the black manager who was training him was making 9. So the white people have company where they have the white people get different pay scales. Mind you, that is a lot against the law in Barbados now. But nobody can go and fight it because the fellas like the white people do bad. That is that reality. So when they couldn't dismiss him over that charge, they came and said, oh, he was working, doing other work, private work. Of course he was doing other private work. He was doing other private work because the company allowed him to do private work over the years. And when he got the private work, when they had the wells to dig, he would go to the company and the company would do those for him. So he was allowed to do private work. But they had to find a way to get rid of him, because how dare you disclose that one of the white people making $18,000, 3 times more than the black fella?
Wow. Yeah,
You understand what's happening here?
hmm
So we have a way of fixing our prices, but the politicians too greedy, and they want to spend too much money with this glitch that of course is illegal over elections campaign. They would walk into party headquarters with a big brown paper bag full of money. You think that then you could turn around and say, I am not going to let you carry your prices. You're gonna get back somewhere. You're gonna get contracts. This place is like Sicily, the home of the mafia, corrupt from top to bottom.
hmm let me ask Lynette something. Lynette, someone was saying, since the last 5 years, have we been more taxed? I mean, we're seeing that the services are not there at all. You don't want to get sick and God forbid and go to the QH. It has gotten worse actually. Sanitation services. I mean, where our school is there in Colamarock, I'm telling you, and I don't have to make it to sometimes 2-3 weeks. The garbage is still there piled up. We have to actually call them, and when you call and they don't come to pick up the garbage. So I'm saying I'm here in Trinidad, and their garbage is picked up like 3 times a week. They come and pick up the garbage. I'm shocked, and they're telling me, oh, just bring out the garbage. The garbage is gone they come 3 times a week from where my son is staying, 3 times a week to pick up the garbage. And I have to wait weeks to get I know for some areas it has improved, but I'm telling you, maggots and everything taking over the place because the garbage is still there. You can't go to QH, but then there's just so much. Sometimes it feels like we're paying a lot more taxes. Do you agree with that? And where do you think all of this money is going if we are paying a lot more taxes?
Lynette, your mic.
Mute, yeah.
Remember, we did reduce the corporation tax rate in order to be compliant with the OECD. So the tax rate is low. At least the corporate tax rate is low. I can't really think of, well, some land the valuation for some pieces of land have gone up. So the rate might not have gone up, but the valuation, so the value of the land has gone up. But I think though what is happening in Barbados, the price of everything is going up, and it has this cascading effect, because then, for example, you find that your rent goes up, and the argument is that prices have gone up, so your rent has to go up. So then you might be forced into a position then to carry up the prices of whatever service you're providing, unless you decide that maybe your customers can't bear it, and you will, make a lower profit, less profit. And so you take some of the burden on yourself and pass on maybe a bit to the client. So that's I believe that's what's happening, because the gas is going up, the price of food is going up, everything is going up. And then any person who's providing any kind of service, they say for that reason, they have to carry up their prices as well. So that's what we have happening. I can't say that there's been any significant increase in the taxes.
Oh yes, there have been.
In which areas?
I'll show you. We are being taxed for water and sewage now. $45 a month, or $1.50 a day.
But when did that come in?
That came in when the Barbados Labour Party come up with that nonsense something back. I don't remember the exact date.
Right. I thought you were referring to more recent increases.
Right. I know, but those increases are still there. You know, they may stop collecting it. You know,
Yeah, I know it's there, but
that
those would have been there.
that is bringing significant sums of money. You're putting out more tax, and that is something that is why that they lower the tax rate for businesses because they want to be compliant with the OECD or whatever it is. I get that. I understand that. And at the same time, we have some people now who have decided now that they'll become Lynette Eastman Inc. And you will pay yourself $1 a year or whatever, and your company pay a little bit of tax. Your company buys your food, your company buys your car, and you're seeing it happening, right? So the people who have money are not paying taxes, but you are grinding the fellas at the bottom by you taxing water. Everybody takes water, even if you don't get a shower when the day comes. You still can use water, you can drink it, and it doesn't depend on how much you drink, it depends if you got a pipe. So if you don't turn on your pipe for a month, you can still pay that $45 in tax. So they're taxing the people who can, and look, watch it. Let's say you earn $10,000 a month, right? And I earn $400 a month. So I am paying $45 on my water bill. That is 45 over 400. But it is $45 over your 10,000. So the richer people are paying minuscule amount of tax, but the $45 is more significant than the fella at the bottom. So the poorest people are paying a higher rate of taxes, and then you tax the gasoline. I used to pay $400 for my road tax. They said, no, we're not going to charge road tax anymore. Please come back. Let me charge road tax and let me pay $500 then, because I sat down and every time I went to the gas station over a year, I worked out how much money I paid in tax. And at the end of that 1 year period, I paid $936 for my what would have been road tax. I would have paid $500 and keep back a little bit more, keep back that thing. So look, I have to drive, I have to go because I represent people in Town, I represent people in the airport. I can't walk. And I have to buy gas. I can't catch the bus. So they are putting the taxes on the things that everybody has to use. And what poor people use. I can tell you there's no tax ramming because the poor people eating that. They are putting the taxes on low, and because there are so many more poor people than there are rich people, if you take $50 from me and all the other poor people together, there are 200,000 poor people. You know what I mean? The 80,000 rich people.
But the differential in the corporation tax rate and the personal tax rate, the government would have known from the outset that that would cause people, because we've had this before. We've had this before years ago where there was a differential in the corporate and the personal tax rate to the extent that it made it sensible for people to incorporate. So that is in the tax history of Barbados. So the government should have known this. But you see, the issue with the taxes and going for that low tax rate and what Barbados is going to do in the economy where that is concerned, the whole economy now, where that is concerned, that is something that requires someone to sit down and do proper study and come up with a strategy for Barbados. And it should be us. It can't be just for somebody coming from abroad, because they don't understand fully the components that make Barbados. But you see, that is what you call heavy lifting. And I don't know, it seems as though we are a country now, we have become a country that we don't want to do any heavy lifting. We don't want to sit down and think things through, determine the strategy, and implement it, however hard it might be. Even though arguably, right now, we have more resources, we have more technology, we have more of everything than the people had back in the 50s and 60s when they were coming up with all of the nation building things that Barbados had to do. So, I mean, I I personally think that we are at a rather embarrassing stage in our history of development where we can't seem to sit now and do the difficult things, even though a lot of the difficult things, many of them were done before. We have a we have people who know how to do it, but I it just baffles me. And I would tell you, I mean, a lot of people will not want to hear me say this, but it has been so with successive administrations. They just have not sat down to do the kind of thinking and the putting in place a strategy for Barbados to go forward. There is a situation of just picking at little things that you're going to do this here and you do this there without an overall strategy. And it
Overall
baffles me why
vision.
it isn't being done.
Yeah. I would love for you guys to comment on the what is happening with the Barbados Light and Power company and the rates, etc. I just glimpsed it before I came on. Caswell, do you have any comments on that? Because that's going to affect everybody. That's the thing. That yeah.
You see, this government was not the only one that was practicing power economics. You sell your assets, and then when they're gone, they end up in trouble. The national insurance owned a significant portion of the shares in Light and Power. The last government sold those shares to get money, sold them to Emira. I know Emira has made our Light and Power company um, third world or fourth world now. They have blackouts all the time. I had blackouts in my office there this week and last week, and this is not the first time. And they're always breaking down. Poles always dropping down. They don't maintain the plant anymore as they used to because Emira is not local, and they're only looking for profit. They're not interested in anything else. I know they're telling them that if you don't, they're threatening them. They're making these little veiled threats and they're saying things like, "Oh, if you don't get an increase, things can get worse." As blackmail because they want their increase and they want to give their shareholders. You remember they took the money from the self-insurance scheme and paid themselves a massive dividend. It is all about money. You have a Light and Power that was locally owned and you put it in foreign hands. What do you expect?
Mm-hmm.
This is what is happening now. They will keep writing and writing and writing us until some government have the testicular fortitude to say, look, that's far and no further. And say how much we want for how much, and do like how to do Miss Ram. Take it away from them and don't pay them. I don't I don't advocate that though, but they got to acquire. I said, well, look, sorry, we cannot have our electricity generation in the hands of foreign nationals that do not care anything about Barbados, and then negotiate a price, and then give them some bonds.
But that's in the direction in which we're going, though.
We
We're
can have to
going in
go.
the direction of selling out everything, it seems.
Yeah, but look at Bay Street. Some of them know Bay Street. They have a no entry sign. Like Strathclyde used to in the old days. Strathclyde, remember, and you couldn't go to Strathclyde if you had a certain color. If you're black, well, Bay Street can be that just now. Well,
But
mind you, I went over by Savvy for lunch yesterday. Things so.
you should have taken a picture, man.
Yeah, it's very nice. I like it. I'll go back.
You go back. That's wonderful. But I'm still with this Light and Power thing because I mean already the prices are very high. You know,
Too
so
high.
a Trini said to me, man, I don't know how you guys said, I love the beaches in Barbados, man. And he was telling me, but he said, don't know how you guys live. How do you buy food? You know, it's just so expensive. And can you imagine now with electricity, if those rates go up, then everything is going to go up. You know, have we sat down long enough to think about that? And what is the government? What is the government saying about that, Lynette? Anybody knows what is their position on it?
They don't have a
Do,
position.
do you know the government's, you know, do you know the government's position really on anything? Um, is just, to me, it is just breathtaking how there is just so much going on, but you can't see any kind of strategy or plan. I don't know if they have one that they're not sharing with the public, but it is very difficult to see exactly where you're going and why you're doing what you're doing. When these assets are sold, you know, what is the money to be used for?
Mm.
Is it to reinvest in something,
Consum-
something long term?
Consumption and consultants. Somebody sent me a WhatsApp today showing me the guy who was I believe know him, the consultant truck driver at Water Authority. Tell me he's making $20,000 a month now.
I
I
don't believe that, Casual.
I know he's a consultant truck driver. I know that for a fact. I
The
know he
truck
was a truck
driver, the
driver.
truck driver. So let's stop there. So the truck driver, it is now a consultant on what? Driving of trucks? What area?
But that's all he knew. So I don't know what he's consulting on. But he was a consultant. He was a truck driver. He retired, and now he's back as a consultant.
You
But
see,
I mean, go ahead,
no,
Lynette.
I was actually thinking, because I was thinking about how the Integrity in Public Life Act is going to help us, if it can help us with any of these issues. But what I recall is that that act deals with public officers, whether they are within the civil service, boards, members of parliament. It doesn't seem to deal with consultants, if I recall. So to me, that is going to be a major issue for me in terms of whether or not that piece of legislation is going to work. Um, I'm seeing, because if we're talking about transparency and accountability, the Integrity in Public Life legislation is meant to address that.
Right.
Um, so and remember the three ways that you're going to do this is by declaring your assets, declaring whether you have an interest in a contract or you're on the board of directors at somewhere where there'd be a conflict. If you receive gifts over 2,500, and then you're to your financial circumstances, of course, financial affairs have to be lodged with the Integrity Commission or with the president. But you know that bill was passed, but remember that the ministers and the politicians have had a very long time to prepare themselves for the passage of the bill. Because remember, we talked about there being a blind trust that you can set up.
Right.
So they had adequate time, this lot, to set up these blind trusts. So that then even when they make any declaration to the Integrity Commission, it's not going to really declare what they have. But since the only people that you declare information on yourself, your spouse, and your
Right.
children, But there's so many other ways that other things, if you're going to get money out of a project, there's so many different places that that money could go that we would never know about it. It could go somewhere to sit for a period of time, and we just wouldn't know. So I am thinking, I remember the Prime Minister mentioned it, and she mentioned it in a way that she was saying, oh, the public officers who are not used to disclosing things, how they will have to get into it now and all that kind of stuff. But that is, we know that there's some petty corruption probably everywhere, but it is the big ones that would cause you to invest, you know, $100 million and then just write it off. Those are the ones that we're most concerned about, the big money items, the big ticket items. And it doesn't seem as though that piece of legislation is going to be able to address those issues.
But Lynette, you should recall that this bill has its genesis in the call from people who were saying that politicians were corrupt and that there should be some level of scrutiny and integrity legislation to deal with them. Rather than do that, this government came in and they decided that they're going to pull everybody in the net. So they're going to water it down so that the Integrity Commission, right now, there are actually 51 bodies plus another, God knows so many government departments, and there are nearly 100 that they're going to have to investigate. Like, for instance, what you want Southern Meats people? They're Southern Meats and the people that you got Integrity, got to file the Integrity Commission, the principal of Earlston College, the chief archivist. I keep saying, what is she going to do? Steal a book? One of the old books? Or old map? The principals of secondary schools, all of them know got to declare their assets. And that's one thing that Monique was complaining about. She said, you never tell these people anything. No, these people know that there was no find out after the act is passed that they are covered under the act. Can't tell them anything. The chief archivist.
Yes, so I'm thinking that the commission is just going to be inundated with paper, or well, they might send it in by email, some electronic means. But then how do they go through all of that stuff? Are they then under obligation? I don't know. I have to laugh because what just came to my mind was the fact that I don't know if you realize that anybody who has, well, everybody should realize this because there's a penalty for it. Everybody who ever incorporated a company in Barbados has to file an annual return. And the penalty is $10 per day if you haven't filed. So you have situations like abroad, you have situations where you file your returns and the obligation is on you to file them. If then something happens and you need to get like a certificate of good standing or whatever, and you haven't filed, you wouldn't be able to get it. But the government requires the officers at Corporate Affairs and Intellectual Property to go through each one of those annual returns. I mean, I find that absolutely remarkable. So if you're just going through annual returns, when will you ever finish any of them? And when will you be able to do the other work that people want you to do? The work that is actually going to generate income. You can imagine thousands of those annual returns coming in every year, and you're required to look at everyone. And if somebody spell a name wrong, that the person's supposed to come back and change it. Those we're just well, a lot of these things are driven by requirements from abroad. But we don't have the resources to do those things. We don't have the resources to do those things and make money at the same time. We don't.
But the ombudsman He takes complaints and report to Parliament. He don't got no influence over the money. He just when somebody get unfair by government, he got to do returns. The National Disability Director, National Disabilities Unit, we can do carry a wheelchair. You know, it's ridiculous. But they just want to hide in the crowd. And I keep insisting that public officers have a greater level of scrutiny right now than even is in this act. So you're going to put them under two sets of scrutiny, where the people who can really get their hands on big money and who can go and acquire people's properties and pass them on to their friends, they have less scrutiny than the chief archivist, the principal of the secondary schools. They have more. These people that I just called have more scrutiny than the politicians. These people can't influence the big contracts and that. And so the ombudsman, the director of disability unit, the director of southern meats, you know, these people just want to hide in the crowd and want to give people the impression that they are doing something. They ain't doing nothing. If I were in the Senate, I would have voted against it. Monita would not have been the only body that voted against it. I would have been there. I would have been supporting her. These people are trying to hide. Like, for instance, look, a senator makes $1,500 in a month, and you're going to make me skin out my guts to declare all of my assets because you give me $1,500 a month. A stipend, that it isn't even a salary, you know. So because you give me a stipend of $1,500, because the only senators that get a salary are ministers, parliamentary, and the president. All the rest get a stipend. When it was there, it was 14 something. Now I understand it's 15. And for that, I have to go and declare my wife's assets and my assets and my adult son that lives with me assets. Huh? They are hiding in the crowd.
And I think they will get away with it. The whole thing is set up in favor of the politicians, even in terms of the appointment of the members of the Integrity Commission. So I don't know, it probably is just so that we could tick the box and say that we have that legislation. But I don't think it is going to help us.
But Lynette, it seemed to me that it's another one of those things that were done, you know, well, to me, it seems like, you know, they had a bill when they went in. This is my understanding. And that was put by the other administration, and they went in and they totally changed it so that the burden is now on they've taken the scrutiny away from themselves and now put it on on regular people, right? Because people were when they were talking about transparency and so on, people were talking about politics. It was for them. But now it's turned on us. And is it a case again where they went and did a bill, and the way that it was constructed, we didn't realize again? Is it one of those things that it kind of deceived us?
I think you see this bill in particular, and this bill, well, not this bill in particular, but the seeking to put legislation in place with respect to integrity in public life. Remember, as Caswell said, this is something that was raised before the 2018 general election, and it was a big issue. You had people. There was I think the group was called Concerned Citizens of Barbados. That I used to see them on Facebook. I don't see them anymore.
The integrity group.
And then they had the integrity group as well, which then miraculously disappeared after the 2018 election. But no, don't let me say it didn't disappear. But the government held, they set up a parliamentary subcommittee, and they actually had hearings. I attended it. Some of us sat down, about 5 or 6 of us sat down, lawyers and lay people, and went through that entire bill. wrote a paper where we discussed the bill and made recommendations. So we did that. And then there were like 5 or 6 other entities that made submissions. So then to come up with a bill like this, it cannot be that you did not know how to do better. Even if there were about 6 different groups who presented um, recommendations. So even if you didn't agree with all of them or you agree with some of them, you had enough information there in order to get a proper bill. But in this case, the people who are going to be penalized the heaviest are the ones who, if they see any wrongdoing, report it, and the Integrity Commission comes to the conclusion that it wasn't a valid report. They are liable to pay $100,000 or spend, I think, just 2 years in prison.
See, man.
So who is going to report on anything with the possibility that you will have to sell your house and might end up in prison? So who's going to do that? People basically, I mean, if a spouse goes home and says this, to a husband or a wife, what are you going to tell them to do, to leak it? Or are you going to say, well, you better keep your mouth shut?
Mm.
Because it's not only you at risk, you're putting your home, you're putting your children, you're putting your spouse at risk when you're doing these things.
Somebody has a question here. If the bar association had any concerns with the integrity bill, I think
Well,
that's what he meant, Pedro.
when the so when the first round, remember that a bill went to Parliament and it didn't pass the upper house. So I know the Bar Association did make comments on that. We didn't make any comments. I didn't pull together the individuals who worked on the last one to make comments on this one, because the truth is, people just get tired of this thing over and over again. You made recommendations and they paid no attention to them.
Mm. Mm.
So,
Same, same thing
with the
with
best will in the world, that took up a lot of our time. We used to meet on evenings, and we used to be there like 9 o'clock in the night, going through this thing, trying to come up with proper recommendations for the government. And
Right.
then it all came to naught. How often can you do that?
but the same thing happened with national insurance. They pretended to have meetings and then didn't listen to what anybody said, because according to Leslie Haynes on brass tacks, this is the IMF mandated. So the IMF tell them what to do, they do it, but they pretend that they were doing something to give the impression that we had to say it. And they even said that I had that they consulted with me. That's defamation of character, you know. But let me
But
give you another one here, Lynette. The director of meteorological services, he too. Now what he's going to do? Take money from a storm, stop it from coming here. You know, trust me. They weren't thinking. They were just trying to hide in the pot and make the pot as big as possible. Poor Sabu Best. If a storm don't come down and say he take money,
But I would like to think that the commission is going to um okay, because just like in the money laundering scenario, the anti-money laundering scenario, you have individuals who might be at greater risk where there's a high risk profile. So I would imagine that the politicians would have a higher risk profile than, the director of meteorological services.
or the nutrition
So they should take priority. You have to look at them. You have to examine what they're doing, I would say, every 6 months. While others, you may look at them every 4 years.
So what priority would you give to the nutrition officer in the National Nutrition Department? Let me have food to eat, to stay healthy. You know,
Hiding in the pack. They created this so that it wasn't about them anymore. And this is what I'm saying is it seemed to be just a pattern here. And I don't know who are the people drafting these bills. It is all to protect themselves, to give themselves more power. As in the mistake that's a serious powerful that's a powerful mistake that happened with the NIS. It's a serious mistake.
No,
So
remember that the policy direction goes to the drafter. Drafters don't make policy. It's the members of parliament.
No, it's the IMF in this case.
And the cabinet that, so like this is what we have come to, because Barbados Barbados in all its history, even in its colonial history, I can't say have never, but that's why people used to say that we were arrogant and foolish, because we used to take the position that nobody could tell us what to do, that the British couldn't tell us what to do, the IMF couldn't tell us what to do, that we were going to argue and we were going to fight. And yes, at the end of the day, we might agree to do some things, but we never took it that everything that was prescribed that we had to accept. This is so in our history. This is a long-standing streak that Barbados has in its history. And so now apparently it's come to an end, that people could just turn up and tell us what to do and we just agree to it.
Somebody's asking here, is the parliament responsible for drafting legislation, or the cabinet, or the office of the AG? Who drafts?
The parliamentary
Chief Parliamentary Council
is responsible. She has a little group up there. People don't really know about it because it's part of the Attorney General's office. But it's the Chief Parliamentary Council. But what has been happening, because the government wanted to get legislation out fast to suit the IMF directives and dictates, they have been bringing consultants to do the drafting. And poor Parliamentary Council, it can look as though it is them, but in a lot of cases, a lot of this bad legislation had nothing to do with them. It came from the private contractor who would then go to the AG. AG was sent on the Parliament. Chief Parliamentary Council, even though they are responsible, can't overrule the AG. So if the AG says let it go down, it can go down.
This person is saying this, and I was thinking about it as well, because and I saw somebody made a comment saying that, well, we could talk all we want, she's doing the government is doing a good job. Look at what's happening in St. Vincent. The people complain, and that prime minister has been in there for over 20 something years. And this, Alwyn is saying something that's been going through my mind. He said it comes across as if this government intends to stay in power for eternity. Yeah. He says, so what they're doing is no mistake. It's a means to an end. These actions have a destination. Each year, these acts against the people are getting more and more sinister. And I tend to, I'm wondering if it is that they're taking a stance that they're going to be in, they're going to be in power for eternity, as this this person on here teasing and saying, well, you can all do whatever you want. They're not, look at St. Vincent. They complain, but nothing happened. This government will stay in for a long time. What are your thoughts about this?
Well, my view is that whether this government stays in power for all time or for another term, all of that depends on the people. And if this is what the majority of people want, although I would argue too, and this hasn't come up as a big issue, it doesn't seem to me, but because we have first past the post, something like this could continue to happen. So, you've had situations in the past where a government could win, even though they don't have the majority of the actual total votes. When you have proportional representation, that is less likely to happen. So we have to look to see if we want to continue with this method or if we want to use another method. People say, people say that Barbados is too small. When people just don't want to consider things, they say Barbados is too small. So Barbados is too small for proportional representation. It is too small for more than two parties. But they don't seem to understand that that is exactly what the OECD and IMF feel. Barbados is too small to have a financial services sector. It is too small to be able to afford to educate its people or provide healthcare for them because big countries can't do it. And when people say these things, they don't seem to understand that they're playing into the same narrative that people use against them. I don't think Barbados is too small for anything. But as I'm saying, um, it all depends on the people. And my objective is that at the end of the day, when all is said and done, I can rest knowing that I tried. My efforts might be feeble. My efforts may not have an impact on anybody or anything, but all that we're really required to do is to try. Those out there who may feel that they are better able and don't come forward to assist, well, that is with them. But I have no intention of leaving the place into which I was born, into which I have been given so much. I have no intention of just leaving the earth without having tried to make a contribution. Whether anybody considers it to be effective, whether they consider it to be enough, I would have done what I should have done as a citizen of Barbados. And everybody has to feel that way. Those who don't, I can't do anything. I can't do anything about that. So it's up to the people. It really isn't about, because the one thing I say to people all the time is that politicians listen. If the people start insisting on having politicians with integrity, they will find them.
Correct.
They will find them because they want to win. But a lot of us seem to accept. I mean, I do recall a supporter, and somebody who actually liked me. They wanted to see me do well, and I told them, well, there's certain things that I'm not going to do. And they say, well, man, no, man, you're going to go change that. You're going to go do such and such. So this person was actually encouraging me to become corrupt. Um, he was saying this to me, he thought in my own best interest in order to be successful. So Barbadians have come now to accept that in order to be successful, essentially, you have to be corrupt. You have to do certain things, and they're prepared to applaud you and say that you're a boss politician, and go to church the next Sunday and pray. You know, I'm not prepared to do that. I can't live that kind of double life.
Yeah.
I can't. So
You
it's
do,
up to the people.
Yeah.
you know, you do all those things. You beat your girlfriends, you name it,
So,
and people.
speaking of that, I have to tell you something. I know. I hope you remember what you're going. But I have to tell you this. I was here in Trinidad minding my business, and someone started to tell me about certain politicians that we have over here, and they were saying that this certain politician, how brilliant that certain politician was. And but they said, listen, that one, because they used to live there and worked in certain places, I won't say where. And the person here started telling me, but man, I tell you, I don't know you, but these people used to beat up their girlfriends and used to send them to the hospitals. And so this man was shocked that this person, they could still be serving. It was quite interesting. My eyes popped out wide because I was here in Trinidad, not expecting to hear all of these things being said about certain politicians in Barbados. How much they beat up people and send them to the hospital and all these kinds of things. But they could, interesting. I don't know.
But
I don't know who these
but
politicians. Yeah.
people make those comments across the region.
Across the region. Well,
Across the region.
it's the first I was
Also
hearing those
in other
comments.
countries.
Well, Lynette, believe it or not, it's the first I heard these comments in another in Trinidad. I mean, I never or outside. They knew the people. That's the thing about it. They knew. They said, no, 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 this is a fact. I said, oh, you know that. He said, no, 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 this is a fact, and they could tell. They knew exactly what happened. That's quite interesting. But I had to.
Well, you see, the thing is, I don't know anything about that, about those things at all. I've never seen it, never seen any evidence of it, nothing. I just hear people talking, and wherever I go, they talk about it.
They talk about it. Well, I know. I just know of some of the women from the churches, because they were a lot of those women run into the church to get help, to seek refuge. But anyway, back to we went on a different topic. Back to
essentially, I was agreeing with Lynette actually, because you contribute at your level. Me, I understand. I agree with what she's saying, and you do not have the corrupt to do it, and you do not have to take. People have been offering me all kind of inducements to be a different type of person. I like me, and I think if I change, I would like the resulting fellow. So I'm going to stay who I am, and I will contribute at my little meager level to the best of my ability. And what Lynette said was very profound. She will do her best at the level, and well, remain honest. And I think I can say ditto, because I am going to do my best at the level of I can contribute that. I am not an economist. I am not a professor of commerce from Gresham College or anything like that. So I would contribute at my level. Most thing I did, I went to Labour College. I went to the States, Labour College. I went to training in Italy, ILO. I trained at the Barbados Workers Union for crying out loud, and also Public Workers Academy. So I do what I can at the level of my, ability.
Yeah. Someone has a question here, and we have 12 minutes. And it says, given what is going on in Barbados, can we prepare a petition for presentation to the president, urging her to disband the government? Can that legally happen?
In theory, yes. In reality, never. The only time a governor general ever dismissed a government in the Caribbean, and not the Caribbean, in the Commonwealth, was in Australia. I think it was in 1978, where the governor general had to sneak around behind the prime minister's back and dismiss him by the collusion of the chief justice and everybody else. Because if the prime minister had gotten wind that he was going to be dismissed, he would have turned around and dismissed the governor general first. Because because all he would have to do is to call Buckingham Palace and say, look, this is Governor General no more. So the Governor General went about behind his back, got advice from the Chief Justice, and dismissed the Prime Minister of Australia. So it can happen. But
who was the Prime Minister then, you remember?
It was Gough Whitlam. I think I could check.
Okay. All right, don't let that distract you. I guess I could look it up.
Right? But in theory, yes. In reality, nah, that can happen. And you see, the president of Barbados and the governor general of Barbados are supposed to stay above the political fray. So unless it is something like the person was doing something to destroy Barbados national security level or something, so yes, maybe. But you know, the the president or the governor general, in this case, maybe was the only body who could have called up the defense force. Now the prime minister had given herself the power to do that. In the last, remember the time when they changed the age to bring back a retiree to make him chief of staff of defense force and promoted commodore and all kind of stuff. He was too old. As a matter of fact, he was older than the fellow that was retiring. All right. So who you think you can take orders from? The president? Because if the president made those kind of decisions, she can't implement it on her own. You still have to call the defense force, and the defense force now is firmly in the grips of the politicians, namely the prime minister. So it's a nice thing to dream about. It didn't happen.
Some people are feeling that why are we saying it won't happen? To try, but I understand the context in which Mr. Franklin is speaking. That, remember, she is really a figurehead, and these are things that we didn't have any say into the kind of republic that we were going to get. Right? It was just brought to us, and this is what it was. So this is what we have to live with. And then we went out and we voted them back in, and we have no opposition. So this is where we're at right now. The question is, what can we do to get back our country? What can we do? That is it. And so some people are saying, don't give up all hope in that process. Lynette, you're saying something?
No, well, we're not giving up all hope. It may actually be a blessing in disguise, because I think for too long, the people have been relying on these big institutions to put their case. And probably we have forgotten how to put our own case, because, everybody always, there's no opposition. When the truth is, even if there were an opposition, we should still be doing this. The people should still be doing this.
Yes, agree.
So, we rely on the BLP and the DLP. We rely on the trade unions. So between the BLP, the DLP, the Barbados Workers Union, the NUPW, the BUT, all of the, substantially all, if not all, of the voting population is captured in those institutions, those big institutions. And what happens then is, because you're captured in those institutions, it means that you probably have 4 or 5 leaders who determine what is going to happen in Barbados. So even though we have this NIS issue, it is only CASWELL FRANKLYN here from the union. The unions, the large unions, have done nothing of significance. Neither have they directed their members to do anything of significance. So, to me, it's an interesting dynamic. We thought that unions, the large political parties, that all that was a sign of a growing democracy, when really it was the capturing of the people again by, it's almost back to the stage where you actually didn't have the free right to vote. We're at the stage now where we're looking for direction. So that if the NUPW were to come out tomorrow and say, we're going out on the street, you'd see maybe thousands of people. Maybe, I don't know.
They don't have
but they're gonna wait for a signal. The people are waiting for a signal, as if these people determine every single issue on which they have a concern. If they're Barbadians with a concern about turtles, they could march about turtles. If they're Barbadians who are concerned with growing more ground provisions, they can protest that we're not growing enough. So this idea that Barbadians have, that they have to wait for a fella to stand up and say march now, we have to get out of that. If we have an issue, we must raise it. And if we have an issue, we must raise it with 2 or 3 people around us, and then let it go bigger and bigger and raise it as an issue. You don't have to wait on a politician. You don't have to wait on a trade union. I wish Barbadians could really think back to the past and, ask their older relatives about it, where there was nobody to go to ask for anything. You had to get up and go and do stuff yourself. Nobody was going to give you a signal to march. So, you have thousands of Barbadians waiting on a signal from somebody, as if they don't have a God-given right to express themselves and to influence other people to express themselves. It's something in our humanity that we've forgotten about. We can do this.
I'll tell you something though. Barbadians can stop this government tomorrow. A general strike till they're gone.
How can we stop it tomorrow?
By air traffic control don't work, port don't work, customs don't work. You see what I mean? Shut the place down. Sanitation don't work because the government can't do those things by themselves. Unless they call it the army to do it. The army can't man the airport. They can't man all those other systems because they're not in place to do so. They might got a field hospital and might do a few surgeries, but that's it. But it's just like to have a leader. And foreign leader, the better. Because look, the foreign people are celebrated as our heroes. Clement Payne, Trinidadian, was here for less than 3 weeks. Bussell, born in Africa, come here, and they claim that he led a rebellion as well. You hear any Barbadians or anybody in Barbados born thing? So it might be left to march in weeks. Because
listen, no, I tell you this. Let me tell you something. I tell people all the time, as I said, the sleeping giant is up. And I know Bajans are coming together. I can see it happening. I see the fire on these chats, Mr. Franklin. And I see the Bajan blood, that natural Bajan blood is boiling. And that's it. And I'm saying to people, if we could go beyond party and begin to dictate and demand from our government what we want to see, I believe that is where we're going to get the change. You see this thing here, Lynette, grassroots can do it. The people coming up, don't let them try to label your resistance as coming from a political party. Don't accept
Marcia,
that. It is coming from grassroots.
The point that Caswell is making, he made the point that we like to celebrate foreign people. I don't, what he says is true, because there's no way that Clement Payne could have come here for 3 weeks and caused a riot. The people were organizing long before Clement Payne got here. Now you could see from the picture of Clement Payne that he was probably more attractive and charismatic than Israel Lovell or Ulrich Grant or any of those people. But he couldn't have come here and started a riot in 3 weeks. It's a joke. Obviously there was unrest before, and just like how when some of the protests were being done in Barbados, people came from abroad and spoke in the same manner. So he came and spoke. But people were organizing and agitating before Payne got here, and when he left, they were still agitating. But I don't even think it is because Bajans like to celebrate foreigners. it is all in our head, you see. So there are many Barbadians who believe that Barbadians never agitated about anything because nobody
Mm-hmm.
really mentions Israel level. I have to give credit to Trevor Prescott. It's Trevor Prescott I heard talking about Israel level. What you learned about was Clement Payne. He's the one who's a national hero, not Israel level. So, but I feel that that's deliberate because we have been told over and over again that we don't protest, we don't know how to protest, we take everything. And that is not true. That is not true from the history that I have been reading. But what happens is that you don't call the people name. So even in the 60s and 70s when we were agitating, the people have been written out of history. Nobody writes their name down. They might talk about some of the agitation, but they don't call the names. And the
Mm-hmm.
names that they do call, they then try to lampoon those people and make and belittle them. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of our history is covered down. It isn't spoken about. The names are not called. You only call the names of the elite, the Charles Duncan O'Neill and Errol Barrow and Adams and all these people. The other people who are agitating for various things, we don't call their name. We do not teach our children about them. And essentially they get written out of history. So those of us who know better have to start rewriting the history. That's what we have to
Mm-hmm.
do.
And
We
just
But
to
have to
you,
be
start
speaking
calling the
about it,
names.
to
but
speak about it.
but you must remember though that the historian, one historian looked at me there and told me when I disproved something, I went to the archives and did my research and I presented to the historian. And he told me, man, Kaz, you can't do that to the particular professor because he wrote a lot of nonsense. And I was able to go in there and with my own research prove that he was talking nonsense. But his history is celebrated now as part of our history. They even build monuments to the nonsense he came up with, which is not true. Like for instance with Bussa. Bussa didn't lead anything. And the person who lead it, I don't want something, but he was a fellow called Washington Pitt Franklin. He is who did the
Or his family to you.
Well,
We don't
listen,
let
but
me say we
listen,
have
let
another
us hear more.
Franklin on the loose.
I was thinking that is something we can go into a little bit more on Friday because we're gonna be back again on Friday and look as Lynette was talking. I know that we could look a little bit more about the Clement Payne that whole riots, the riots, the 37 riots, and look at Bossa a little bit and to bring to the people some facts. I think that would be great. But we're going to sign off tonight, and we want to encourage everybody make the plans. Today is Wednesday. You got Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Begin to find those 5 persons that you're going to invite to the march on Saturday. Okay, and begin to promote it. You can find the poster on the Marcia Week show. You can find the poster there. Look for it on Facebook and share it out. Or you can, if you message 236-7000, we can WhatsApp the poster to you. All right, so that you're sharing it. You're sharing it. I heard it was in the news today. We don't have the money to put it on the rate on to do ads. All right. So we're going to need you to help us, everybody here. In the first thing you do, don't wait on social media to do it for you. Take up your phone and you personally invite 5 persons. And from this class, you have the reasons that you can give them to come out. Okay. All right. Bless you all. Thank you
Martha,
so
before you
much.
sign
Yes.
off, before I
Mhm.
sign off today, I have to thank the young ladies who came to the office today and they dedicated the better part of the day making placards. So we
Oh,
will look,
wow.
so we have a whole set of placards up there today just for Saturday. They
Yes.
work hard and they're very impressive.
Wow. Can you take some pictures so we can put it out there? Let's take some pictures of the placards
Yes,
so we can put,
I can do that for you
yes,
tomorrow.
yes. So yeah. All right. So March number
And are we
3.
doing
Yes.
okay on our donations?
Yeah.
Repeat, please.
Are we doing okay on our
Um,
donations?
no, I've gotten a couple of dollars, but not the level. But don't worry, we'll get there.
Okay, so we're still looking for some donations.
Yes, we are
Um,
looking for donations, and we must tell the people that they gave very well the last time, and we were very frugal and diligent with the money that we got, and so we are not starting at zero. We're not starting at zero, thankfully. We do have some there, and so I think it's about probably a little 400, near $500 we're starting with. And so those, your regulars and you want to give again, the number is right there. Message, and then we will we have, I think they can now bring it up to the Unity Workers Union office on in Belleville, right, Caswell? They could bring
Yes,
cash there.
because actually a couple of people did that. So we got $200 from people who came in and brought money for $100 each.
which
So
number, Belleville? Which?
number 5, 6th Avenue.
Okay.
The sign is
No,
on the bill. They will see it. It says Unity Workers Union.
yeah, number 5, 6th Avenue. And Alwyn want to know what time people can come. What time can people bring the donations at
From
Unity?
9 o'clock, to be certain, 9 o'clock. Somebody will be there. Definitely from 9. Should be
From
8:30, but
9
I
o'clock.
will be there in case something happens.
Right. Okay. And it closes at 5?
4:30.
4:30. So from 9 to 4:30, you can get your donations to Unity Workers Union. Okay. All right. So guys, see you on Friday. No, nothing tomorrow night, but we'll be on again on Friday. God bless you. It's been wonderful. It's been wonderful, and it's good to see you all again.
Good night.
God
Good
And
seeing
bless.
you too.
enjoy Trinidad and those cheap prices.
Bring a roti for me.
Bring a roti. I bring some doubles too.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah,
Bye
yeah.
bye.
Okay, bye.
All
Yes.
right.
Bye bye.
Bye. See you. Good night.
Yes.